Agreed.
letting
whole
you
idea
guys
is that-
know we are all set whenever you guys are ready. So yeah.
God.
That's what we refer to as his Wizard of Oz. He's very excited to have a Wizard of Oz voice
enjoy
that
that.
comes.
I can kind of feel like Sarah.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we've been doing when we get this podcast started is just taking a deep breath, just like that, because it just helps center us to, what the purpose of this is. So I'll count out 1, 2, 3. We can all just take a deep breath, and then we'll get started from there. All right, 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the Unscripted room. Tonight, the theme is how we carry ourselves through some of the most difficult situations we face in our life. And I would say that our job as a panel tonight is to explore how resilience can become a part of your identity. What are the things that you experience throughout your life that you start to really appreciate about the struggles that we go through on a regular basis? So we'll get started right away, if you're okay with it, by you reading the first question. Oops. And then we'll just go from there.
Okay, the first question. Can you remember a time when you almost gave up on yourself? I can. So before coming here, I have always wanted to become a pilot.
Yeah.
And there was this time that I was like, oh my gosh, this is not working out. And I was like, I want to give up. I cannot do this anymore.
What
And
stage of going through that process was it? Was it early in it, or was?
in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I started flying. I live in a small island, Aruba, and I started flying there, and we only had one airplane, so it broke down.
Okay.
And I was like, should I keep going? Should I just give up? I didn't know what to do. So I remember I started praying, and I was like, if you want me to keep going, just give me a sign, and I will keep going. But if you don't give me a sign, I will just stop, and I will just do something else.
Yeah.
And I remember I got in the car, and I started driving. And when I stopped, so when I got to the place where I was going, I saw a message, and it was my instructor. And he was like, we have an airplane. We can continue flying. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you're listening to me. Because I know he's always there.
Yeah.
Whatever you believe. For me, it's like God, but it could be energy. It could be anything. Whatever people believe in.
Well, serendipity, is another way of describing that exact event. And that's amazing how often serendipity happens, whether it comes from prayer or whether it comes from positive thinking. But incredible that you had that experience.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I believe.
And then from there, you just kept going with your training and ended up getting your pilot's license?
Yeah, I ended up getting my private pilot and my instrument rating, and I'm working on my commercial right now. Mm-hmm. But it has been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So just like everything in life, you just have to keep on pushing and pushing. And sometimes you're like, I'm really tired and I'm going uphill.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to ask, how did you get into that?
Of course.
Into becoming a pilot?
Yeah, of course.
Well, my mom used to travel a lot, and I used to go to the airport a lot, and I would sit in front of the airplanes and just how they park them. I don't know if you have seen, it's just this huge airplane. It's one line. And I would be like, oh my gosh, that's perfection. I was 11. I was like, this is perfect. That's what I want to do. And I never let it go. And funny, because since I can remember, I dream a lot about many things, but I have always dreamed about flying, that I could fly. And I stopped having that dream when I started flying. So I don't see, there is a connection there, but I just don't know. So I think it's so weird that I was having that dream so often, and then it stopped when I started flying. It's just amazing.
I was just reading this great book. I don't know if anyone's read Atmosphere yet. It's like a bestseller, but it's about astronauts. And that story just reminded me of something that she said, one of they call them ASCANs, but they're really astronaut candidates. And she did this insane thing, you becoming a pilot, she did this monumental thing that was just leading up to becoming a pilot. And the greatest line ever that was said was, "What else can I do after that?" And I bet you think that too. What else can I do?
Yeah. I mean, I am always looking to be like the best version of myself. It's just not only about being a pilot, but being something else in life, like serve other people, be there for other people. I love to do like tiny things like for other people because it's just like it feels so good. I mean like opening a door, saying good morning, just being grateful. Like every time I wake up in the morning, I'm like, okay, let me say thank you because I'm alive and I can breathe and I can walk. And it's just a gift because there are many people that they can't.
I take a hot yoga class, and at the end, sometimes there's a gentleman who's in there who would be like, he's the last person you would expect to do this. He's like this big, enormous dude, clearly is in like a construction type job, and he's very quiet. But at the very end, the yoga instructor always gives him the opportunity to do like a closeout comment for the whole group. And he has the most beautiful speech that he gives to all of us, which is just, he says, that he wants to start off by making sure that that we all remind ourselves that we got up this morning and that our cars ran and that we woke up in a home that was warm and he goes through this like just so foundationally basic thing about all the things that you forget to remember on any given day. And then he goes and he always tells a story about an opportunity in his life where he thought one thing and then allowed another circumstance to happen, so he was stacking wood and something about stacking that wood was making him so frustrated and angry, and he was getting more and more like he was going to lose his temper. And then all of a sudden somebody came by and like offered to help him stack his wood. Like every single time, it's always about opening yourself up to better things happening, and then him telling the story of how someone exceeded expectations of what he thought he was going to experience. It's beautiful every single time, but I think it's because it's basic. He doesn't try to make it more complex. He just tries to be like, hey, you woke up. Be like, you drawing a breath today. Like that is a really good place to start. Now, where do we go next?
Yeah, all the things we take for granted. I feel like when you spend time unpacking, I mean, God forbid you wake up and you can't walk. I mean, that sounds crazy. I actually have a woman who's coming to do a book club at the studio who literally woke up that way. And imagine like what we take for granted on a daily level, so much. And if you just like, I talk about gratitude practices at the studio, and if you just spend a moment, like the fact that I'm smelling the coffee that was prepped by my husband the night before, that I didn't have to prep, and it's already started, and it will be fully brewed by the time I get down there. So much gratitude.
Yeah.
Like that is simply the best way to start the day.
Yeah.
And it's just like these little compartmentalizations. So what's funny, I just never thought about this until you said this. It's funny. Read the question again.
Okay, so it says, can you remember a time when you almost gave up on yourself?
So the fact that you're a pilot and you're talking about signs, and you and I think, have a lot in common about our our foundational belief system. So I was looking for a sign. There's so many ways I could answer that question, but one, when I was a young adult, and I really thought the one was the one. The guy I was going to marry, he was the one. I had spent a lot of time investing, and I thought, I put a lot of time into this guy, so this is going to fix. This is. I was forcing. I now retrospectively know that I was forcing this will in my life that was not meant to be. So I was looking for a sign, and I'm supposed to be flying that day. This is so funny that you're a pilot, and I am in a rinky-dink airport that has like one flight in and one flight out for where we're going to go that day. And on the way in, the plane is about to land, and it hits a goose or a duck of some sort. I call it the sacrificial bird, and it dented the wing, and the plane lands, but it can't fly out that day for us. So we're sent home. And home means I do need to go by his house in order to get there, but he thinks I'm heading to Florida.
Oh no.
Oh my
Right?
God.
Oh, I don't like
I
where
don't
this
wanna
story's
know.
going.
Oh, it's going. And so I've been looking for signs. I've been looking like, what is going, I don't know what's this, but I know I'm probably not where I'm supposed to be. And at that point in my faith, I put God in the back seat. I was like, I'm very type A, Enneagram 8, Virgo, oldest of 4. I got it, right? So yeah, so there we are going by his house and it continues. Like I literally see a car in the driveway that's not supposed to be there. I knock on the door. The only reason he answers is because National Grid's supposed to be showing up. And he just flings the door open and there I am. He said, "What are you doing?" The whole thing, it could not have been more like it was a straight up episode of Days of Our Lives. And that's how I found out that I was not supposed to be there because there's someone else there. And it was the biggest, most profound gift of my life wrapped up in hell. And I remember thinking, and I remember standing there thinking, this is horrifying. And I know this is probably going to, I was very fortunate that this is like my literal coming to Jesus moment. Like there's the figurative side and there's the literal side. This is like, I've been trying to tell you this and you've been ignoring me and it's happening right now. And I'm like, no, like, no, God's the place. No, I was like, white knuckling. And there it was. And I was led out of that house and we're going to get through it. It's going to be slow. It's going to be painful, but we're going to get through it. And it was the most, thank God, because now I've got my husband, my kids, everything about my life went into a completely different direction. And had I not just been open for the sign and all
You
the
got
things.
your sign.
Oh my gosh, what a sign and a half. It was like horrifying and awesome all at the same time. But that's why when signs happen and they come to me in ways that I'm not necessarily excited about the delivery, I really try to take a step back and breathe and think, I know there's it sounds so cliche, but it's like, I know there's something I'm supposed to learn right now. I'm really not interested. Let me just sit here in my ick for a little bit and I'll be present for you in a little moment. Give me some time. But man, it's a little bit of a roller coaster ride. Like I kind of knew, like hands up, eyes closed. This is going to suck. Here we go. I kind of knew that was happening in the moment. Man, it really did suck. But that was my sign. And a pilot.
See?
Sorry,
That
is
was
that
a good
ruining
sign.
the sound?
I think one thing that's interesting about that question, and I was thinking about it earlier, was that it is equally about what you should do, and it's also equally about what you need to give up. Because sometimes not giving up on yourself is also being able to let go of something that you know is no longer in your best interest and that you go. And sometimes it's about not giving up on something that you know is in your best interest and you just need to push through whatever the discomfort is because the growth is on the other side of
And the
that discomfort.
discernment is the hard part.
Well, the discernment is really hard because it's all about, it's all about intuition, right? So it's about being able to, to ask your spiritual self, what do I need to do? And then being able to listen to the signs or the environment or what's going on to be able to get a better feel for, is this an all-in moment or is this an all-out moment? I know for myself, I've had multiple moments where I thought like, oh, I think this is my all-in moment. And then later on, after careful reflection, I was like, maybe I got that one wrong. Maybe that was a not all-in moment. And I just couldn't tell the difference on how to read my intuition at that time. There's so much to do with the maturity that you have, with the relationship with yourself as you're trying to make those,
And the ability to quiet yourself, which again does not come naturally to me, but with maturity is becoming more natural because I think there's a lot of marination, so to speak, that happens I'm not a cook, but you prep the marinade, you put the chicken in it, and then you just want to grill it because it's marinated. Let's go.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, it's like the flavor is developed over some time, and that takes patience. You like
I did.
You like my metaphor there? Thanks, Mary. But it's like I have learned to embrace that space between getting the marinade on the chicken and putting it on the grill. That was
It's age.
Age, and it's so again cliche.
Age.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's literally aging and aging. It's aging the thing and aging your aging.
Yeah, and it's
time.
yeah, and it's nice because I'm not rushing it because you just kind of spoke to that a little bit. Like you rush it and the flavor might not be fully baked in, marinated in. Like it's just something, and then to hold on to something, that white knuckling, that's not what's that thing with the raccoon? What's the animal that gets trapped when they put their hand in, grip it, and try to pull out the object, and they're
like that.
trapped by the cage because they're not willing to let go of the object.
Yeah, I've heard that with primates.
Right. So it's like learn to let go, which might mean you're empty-handed for a while. And is that okay? Like,
Strange metaphor, but okay, we'll go with it.
I am a queen of metaphors. I apologize in advance for the next few hours.
So how about you? What do you think of that question? What comes up for you?
Oh, I mean, wow, that is a
big
pretty
one.
deep question
Yeah.
about a thing that, I mean, you could really take that to the next level, or you could keep it super micro.
Which way should we go?
I know. Which way do you go on that? I mean, everyone here could probably, I mean, yours is pretty profound. I appreciate yours, but I would love to dig deeper. I'm an interviewer, so I have a million questions about you becoming a pilot and it being as simple as the story that you told, because to me, there are all kinds of things that would make you not feel like you could be a pilot, and you did, that have not been mentioned yet. Being a woman, being a person of color, being like, I'm not sure what your background is, but I don't know what all it is, but I know that like you probably had some deep struggles getting to becoming a pilot and people believing that you were allowed to be a pilot. Namely, probably you, after everyone told you you probably couldn't.
Yeah, a lot of people have told me, how are you going to do it? Where are you going to get the money? Like, when I moved to Aruba, I only spoke Spanish. So it has been like a lot of learning. I started learning English when I was 17. And I just,
You're good.
I got a book and I was like, I'm going to learn and I'm going to do this book and I'm going to learn English. I remember it was a grammar book. And I started doing the book and I finished it and I didn't know anything. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try it one more time. So the second time I was like, okay, I kind of understand how it is put together. So I'm going to do it one more time. So the third time I did it, my grammar was really good, but I couldn't speak. So I was like, okay, so now I have to learn how to speak. So they put me in an ESL class, and then they give me like 3 or 4 months, and they were like, okay, you go and you do, I think it was 11 and then 12, and I couldn't understand anything. I was like, oh my gosh. And I put a lot of pressure on doing things properly. I want to be the best. I want to do everything perfect. I'm a perfectionist, but I have learned that it cannot be perfect. So I have learned. Like aviation has taught me a lot. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start speaking. And it was like people would laugh. Like if I would say something funny, they would laugh. And I was like, okay, fine. I'm just learning. You're allowed to correct me. It doesn't matter. There's nothing wrong. And I would just kept on telling myself that everything is fine and I'm going to learn. And I would only speak English. That's it.
Wow.
I'm like, if you speak Spanish, don't talk to me in Spanish. You can talk to me in English. And then apart from English, I was learning Dutch and papiamento. And I was like, how am I going to do this? I have no idea. I had a Venezuelan passport. And, like the situation was getting bad. And like traveling with a Venezuelan passport was really hard. And I was like, I need something else. And then I had like a student permit. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get through my studies the possibility to get a Dutch passport, because you can like take a test, like it's like a lot of tests, but then you can apply and they do like a background check and then you can get the passport. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna start here because it's really hard to see like the whole picture. I can't. Like I used to, like I want to know what is going to happen and how is it going to happen, but sometimes life works different. So you learned and you adjust and you're like, okay, this is fine. If I see what is going to happen tomorrow, I'm fine with it. But like in about a year from now, I don't know. So I learned how to be fine with it without like having to know. And then I started Like I learned English, I finished high school, and then I went and I did the test and I got the Dutch passport. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to go to the Netherlands because I can become a pilot there because they can give me a fine. And I was like, this is my whole plan. And I packed my things. And it's funny, people would say, if you don't get a place to live from here, you're not going to find anything. And one day I was looking and looking. I was like, I'm not finding anything. What am I doing? I'm not going to look anymore. I'm going to find something. And then my sister, she had been living in Europe at that time, like for 5 years. So she went to the Netherlands. And funny, it was just a vacation. And then on her way back, because she used to live in Austria, on her way back, she met someone in the airport and he comes to her and he's like, oh, what are you doing here? Where are you from? Are you from Venezuela? And she's like, yes. And he's like, oh my gosh, I used to go to Venezuela. I love Venezuelan people. Can we drink like tea together? I swear, this is so funny. And then he's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, well, I came on vacation and I was also looking for a place for my sister to stay. And he's like, oh, here's my number. Tell her she can stay at my place. And I'm like, and she's like, here's his number. You can stay at his place. And I'm like, and I message him. I go, hi, how are you? This is Silvana and I'm coming to the Netherlands. And he's like, you can stay 3 months. I'm like, that's perfect. It's a start.
It's a start.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All you need is a start.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I packed my things and my mom is like, I'm coming with you because I need to know like where you're going to be. And I'm like, okay, fine, let's go. I got there and he's like, you can stay as long as you want. And I'm like, okay.
I'm like waiting for the catch.
No
catch?
There was no. He had 2 houses at the time, so he sold them and he bought a new house and he allowed me to decorate my room. And it was great. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And it was like
What
that.
an adventure.
Yeah. But it was because I believed. Like sometimes people, they're like, oh, this sounds weird. Maybe
I
it's...
think open people find open people. You know, so if you have that attitude that like I'm just gonna find the goodness in all of this, it does seem to be a beacon for other people who want to kind of like allow that to happen between you.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing.
And maybe a little mix of good boundaries too, so you can read a room at the same time, right? Like if there's a creepy situation, you would have kind of been able to see. If you're that savvy at traveling and everything, you probably would have seen something and gone, nope, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, there was definitely the surface of that story was definitely a little alarming to listen to, being like, okay, all of these things lined up, but you ended up having the experience and that's not what it was. Like, what was your experience in the Netherlands like?
Oh, it was amazing. Like people are really nice. I liked it very much. But then it was COVID. And then I was like, I cannot become a pilot here. So, and then my dad got sick, so I had to go back home because I was gonna help my mom. I was like, okay, it's fine. You know what? I stay like almost 3 years, and then I took the courses that I needed to take and what I wanted to do, and then it didn't work out. And I was like, okay, so I just packed my things and I left and I went home until my dad passed. And then I was like, I still want to be a pilot. So how am I going to do this? I don't know. And I mean, it's an island. Aruba is an island. It's tiny. It's beautiful, but it's like very limited when it comes to studies. So I was like, this is another funny story. So one day, so my dad passed and my mom, we were really sad. And I was like, oh, okay, what are we going to do now? My mom couldn't stop crying. I'm like, I had a drone because I love flying. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn how to fly the drone. And then...
2 drone flyers.
Yeah, it's so cool, flying drones. I love it.
Yeah.
And then we went to the beach and I parked where I usually parked. And then I keep on walking because I couldn't find like the spot that I wanted to stop and fly the drone. And then I'm walking and walking. And then I stop at a spot and someone comes out of the water. And I'm like, he doesn't say anything. And I go like, okay. Not even hi. And then the second person comes out of the water and he's like, hi, how are you? And he hugs me and I'm like, okay. And then he goes and he hugs my mom. This is my mother's husband right now, like her current husband.
She
Can
met
you
him this
imagine?
way?
Yes.
This is in Aruba?
Yes, this is in Aruba and he's from Massachusetts.
Wow.
So he's the whole everything connects. You just have to believe and everything connects. And he's like, we were talking and he's like, oh, do you guys want to have like dinner with us? And I went home with my mom. She's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. And I'm like, and she's like, if you want to go, you can go. I'm like, no, I'm not going anywhere without you. You're coming with me. She's like, but I'm like, there's no but. Like, I'm taking us. It doesn't matter if you don't want to go. And then my mom is like, okay, yeah, okay, let's go. And then I told him, I want to be a pilot. And I found a school around here, which was Beverly in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Beverly
okay.
Airport.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, perfect. We can go there. Same thing. Pack my things. My mom is coming with me. And I don't know, it always worked out. You just have to believe. And I'm here like 2 years later. And well, I have to leave. And then I came back. And I changed school. And then I just kept on going. Like it hasn't been easy. It has been really hard. Like even language, like even when you talk to ATC, sometimes they say things and I'm like, oh my gosh, what does that mean? So it has been like a lot of training, but I just keep on going. And it's nerve-wracking. Sometimes it's just like, oh my gosh, I am going to get in an airplane alone and I'm going to fly. And it's just like, am I gonna do it? And then I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I know it's very scary, but I know how to do it. I have done it thousands of times. So I'm not gonna say, okay, I'm not gonna limit myself. I just keep on pushing myself. I'm like, you're going to do it. It doesn't matter if you're afraid, we're gonna go for it. And we'll see. But I never give up. I'm like, I keep on telling myself that everything is going to be all right. And even when it's not, because I mean, life is not a straight line. We wish it was, but it's not. So it's just like, we're going to go and we're going to do it. And right now it's just like tiny steps. I say, okay, I have, for example, instrument. I was like, okay, I'm going to do instruments. And people are like, oh, when are you going to finish? And how long is it going to take? And I'm like, I don't know. I am done when I am done because I cannot deal with my pressure and like other people's pressure because it's a lot. So I'm like, I don't know. Like even if I have my test today, I'm like, I don't know. And once I take it, I'm like, okay, I took it. It went fine, and that's how I do it because it's a lot. Like life gets busy, and it's just overwhelming.
Do you think between the four of us, like, because you had so many interesting parts of that, which was that your overall perspective on the way that all of that happened was so impressively positive, even though you were describing a lot of different hurdles that you had to move through, like really challenging hurdles moving from one country to another country. But you described each one of those challenges as an incredibly positive opportunity that was a gift that was given to you. That's really unique. That's a very, very unique perspective to have, and it's beautiful. The thing that I was wondering as you were saying it, the four of us can examine is like, do things like, how do we decipher the difference between believing in something so that it will happen and believing good things will happen? And the mindset of believing good things will happen is also what opens up the consciousness to seeing good things. Like how do you find the difference?
I would
between those?
argue a little bit that like stories like that and like I can relate to a lot of like overcoming hurdles that women face, specifically when like going into male-oriented jobs as a video producer. But I think like it's fun to do storytelling in the moment where you're just like, everything worked out great, but at the time there's a lot of emotions and how you felt then was not there. There were moments, and I'm sure you had many, where you were like, I'm not doing this anymore. And what am I even doing? And why am I doing this? And doubting yourself. And so it isn't just like sunshine and rainbows and like, I can do it. Like, this is great. Of course, it's like, I know in my heart I need to do this because my passion can't stop me from doing this. And that has overridden your like consciousness of like, I shouldn't do this. This is hard. What am I even doing here? I don't believe in myself. All those feelings, you have those feelings and they're all very real and so real that you just don't want to do the thing that you want to do, but you do it because your passion is there and like it literally is your driving, it's your North Star. Like you can't ignore it. So I think there's like spirituality and believing that things should work out for you, but truly it's that like love that you have for this thing, right? Like that is undeniable. It's like you can't be stopped from telling stories or helping people to become their best selves in fitness or flying a plane, or doing all the amazing things that you do. You just can't be stopped. Like, and despite all of the challenges that you face, you're at the end of the day, you're like, shit, I still want to tell stories and be a video producer in the morning, and I got to do it. And I got to get up today and I got to do the next thing, because there's no denying it. Like, how many times have the three of us in our professions all tried to get out of this and said, I'm not doing it anymore. I don't want to do it. I had that imposter syndrome so many times.
Never.
Yeah, right.
So you just described resilience beautifully, though. Like, that's what you just described what it is for. I mean, all humans obviously are going to experience everything on different levels based on the life experience that they bring into it. Being a male, being a female, culturally where you grew up, the family dynamic that you had growing up. Did people encourage you? Did people put you down? All of these are so rich to the fabric of how you make every single decision every day. But what you just described was beautifully all about the idea that if you pick a passion that's more than the pain, then you're going to let passion win. And that kind of defines resilience, right? I mean, that's a really beautiful way to say it.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we care a lot. Obviously, everyone in this room cares a lot about what they want to do and how they feel. And it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
So what about storytelling made you feel that way? Like, what made you have a passion that was that deep that you could move through all the bullshit that you got to go through to be able to tell the stories?
Yeah, great question. I think, man, that's a long story. What gets me into doing video production and becoming sort of like a documentary filmmaker, which is ultimately what I end up doing, telling people stories. And I feel like I grew up in a lot of stories. I grew up in an Irish Catholic family. My mom was one of 11. She had a really tough life growing up. They had very little money, and my dad not so much. But yeah, my parents are like this dream couple. They're madly in love with each other, and they were like on track to make the perfect family. And I have a sister, and she's pretty cool. And I had a absolute idyllic childhood. We got to go to camp, and we had beach houses, and they wanted this like perfect life for us. And we had that completely and totally. And I'm so every day incredibly grateful for it. And not only that, not only were my parents these like incredible caregivers to my sister and I growing up, despite my mom's very difficult growing up circumstances, they also were very liberal. So that was very cool. So we were surrounded by a lot of diversity and a lot of caring about, other people's lives, which I feel very grateful for as well. It was like, oh, we have this perfect bubble and we're just going to stay in this perfect bubble. They were always about reaching out and helping everyone around them. And I was like so excited about that. And then I get to college and I start doing video production in college, and I'm so happy and everything's going great. And then I come home and I'm talking to my mom, and we're out to dinner or lunch or something. And I like have nothing planned, completely unscripted. She's telling me about some friends that she's having a hard time with, and I'm doing my usual therapizing my own mother, which I don't know if anyone else does that here, but it's like a common occurrence for me. I know for Megan for sure. And I love my mother. My mother is the coolest person in the world. Everyone's lucky to know her. But I, in passing, just let her know that I'm seeing a woman at college and all hell breaks loose. And it's basically like my life goes from this very sturdy, steady forward track to a hard right. Yeah, we'll go right. So then then, like I said, things change. The ground falls from underneath me, and
What
I
was
go,
she struggling with in that moment? Like, what was she feeling, like the loss that she was going through that
yeah,
made that friction?
great question. Now, being 20 years out from that moment, I am very empathetic to my mom in that moment. I I have a lot of like care and grace for her in that moment. And I think she was feeling like she had a feeling about how she wanted things to go.
Hmm.
And that totally changed in that moment. Not to mention, like 20 years ago, coming out stories were not
It's
as
different.
popular. And
Yeah.
now people have learned from media and other parents going for them. Not that that's an excuse, but it was really tough. And she left me at the lunch and drove away and
Oh,
left me downtown Newburyport.
I'm sorry. That must have been a very painful moment to.
Yeah, we have so much recovery that I feel like I can tell this story and not be emotional about it.
And you guys are so tight. You're sweet to watch.
We are very tight, but part of that is because I think like, and I know everyone here can relate that either has children in their lives or has helped raise children or has their own children. There was this kind of tone about children being resilient. And
Yeah.
like that is something that parents would say, children are resilient. No, they're not actually. They're not resilient. They actually take on every traumatic thing that happens to them and they carry it through in their life and they spend the rest of their life trying to fight between that and like all of who they are. So they are not resilient.
Well, there's a ton of evidence that says that from 0 to 7 is the most deep imprints that you can get. And then from 7 to 14, it is there, but not as. And then from 14 to 21, and then at 21, your brain is fully formed and you have a totally different relationship with what trauma means, what resilience means, what recovery means. So you're 100% right.
But
The
it
earlier
doesn't,
you get,
it also doesn't mean though that like children and even adult children, even like 20-year-olds, whatever their age may be, it doesn't mean that they're not going to encounter extreme challenges that they are going to like learn grit from and become better people. It doesn't mean that parents shouldn't get divorced because kids experience trauma. It just means like do the best you can with everyone. I should do the best I can with you. I try to do the best I can with you. I am going to do the best I can with you. So if I mess up with you, which we have.
Oh.
Wait, no. I'm just saying if I mess up with you, I just need to do the best I can to recover that in the best way I can. In the way that is like not all is lost. I love you. We're good. Let's recover from here, right? So it's like
if there's a moment happening, we could have the
no.
together. You know,
No. I'm
that's
just
the whole point of
no,
this. is that
not
we
at
are
all.
able to
No,
allow these
I'm
things
just
to
saying, like everyone's going to have their challenges with their parents at some point. If you think you're immune to that, you're wrong. You're not. You're always going to have some sort of moment with your kids where there's going to be a tense thing that happens where you're going to be like, this isn't what I thought would happen.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I wonder
parenting. Go ahead.
the 0 to 7. I wonder because I've
Conception to 7 is actually
yeah. And I've read that many times over, and I remember saying to my husband, I'm like, ooh, they're 8, we're in the clear. Like I felt like not that we got like our diplomas as parents and like see ya, but I remember feeling this moment of arrival, so to speak. So I don't know if this is true or not. Maybe someone can unpack it for me somewhere along the line. But I wonder if something like I've had adult interactions with my mom that have been less than stellar. I think Mary and I have this similar kind of like deep love for our mothers, but we've also had a harder time of it.
They're flawed.
Yeah. And my sisters have finally agreed that I probably had the hardest time, and I'm like, yay! Thank God you guys now see it. I'm the oldest, and yeah, and my mom's mom died within like a week of my birth.
Oh wow.
And I'm the oldest. And she was a young mom, I think 23, just married me. Her mom was alcoholic and pretty much, I don't know if it's a combination of drink and pills that was like her final undoing. And my mom says, and I can't imagine this being true, especially considering who I think I am today. She's like, I don't think you smiled for the entire first year of your life.
Mm.
And I can't even wrap my brain around that. But if I was reading her energy and her sadness, is probably true. And there's probably a lack of bonding and connection, all the things that are supposed to probably happen. And thank God my dad is an effusive love muffin. And I think that there's a certain amount of
He really
offsetting
is.
that has happened. And it probably was not deliberate. He was probably not like, I will now, take up, the slack. He just, that's who he was and is. They're both alive. And I wonder if some of the things that I don't know if I'm pointing at you thinking if what you experienced in that restaurant in your report, if there's something that happens at 0 to 7, that it's like the thread is already loose. So when as an adult it gets pulled, the tapestry it has an easier time of falling apart. Because I feel like that's probably the case with my mom and I. Like when she has pulled, it was very easy for it to unravel.
Yeah.
I also think it's like from what I've seen, dating a few women and with children, is like there's this sort of fatigue that comes with parenting where it's like at some point they're just sort of, I wouldn't say done because of course parents are never done and they're always proud, but there is like definitely like a separation a natural separation that happens in like the older years too.
You have to make that deliberate, actually. That's
Where, I saw my mom kind of switch at some point, seeing me become who I am, which in my older, even teenage years, I was becoming very much like an empath. And I was taking care of a lot of people. I'm the oldest. And I think that was I think she saw that as something that she could take advantage of, not in an unkind way, just in a like, oh, we're friends now.
Yeah.
And
It was relatable to her.
yeah, very much. Yeah, for sure. And I was kind of proud and I felt kind of powerful being my mom's therapist. I felt like I have a lot to offer her and she's giving me attention because I can solve problems for her with her friends or about emotions that she's having or whatever that looked like. And that felt like power to me in some ways. And also like I saw that and I was like, wow, I am helping my mom. Like that makes me feel very empowered. Who else can I help? Like what else can I do here, And so for her to turn the tables on me in that moment and kind of make me feel like I was less of a person in that moment when I was telling her something vulnerable about myself when I was really more acting like her mother, it was like a real 180 to feel that way. Like it was like a how dare you like even judge me. I'm here like literally helping you navigate your life. And I'm letting you know that it wasn't a big proclamation. It was literally just I lived in New York City. We were way ahead of everything in terms of like, yeah, I'm dating a woman currently. Get over it. Who cares? Not even like, all right, you guys, I just picked up my lesbian card. I took the test. I passed with flying colors. And
You have a Dutch.
this is who
you
I
have
am
a
now.
Dutch passport now for passing the lesbian test that you can move on to.
Did you learn the language?
I will say
They
that
knew how great I was in softball in middle school, and they saw my whole sports career, and they were like, "You're in.
You're in.
there's not an adult on the planet that doesn't have to figure out how to build resilience based on the ups and downs of your relationships with your parents.
Sure,
I've
of
never known a
course.
single person who, even when you had a great relationship with your parents, that you didn't run into some level of conflict. And I'll just say from my own personal, side as a parent, parenting is the most complicated relationship that I've ever experienced because it is so dependent on how I feel about myself. And I happen to have a belief that you never perpetuate bad decisions from anything other than feeling insecure. If you feel secure about something, you would never make a decision that's going to have a ripple effect that goes. But unfortunately, a lot of the times when you don't have the maturity to be able to figure out how to see your kids before you see yourself. And the number one thing that I'm grateful to my sons for is that they were a gift to be able to break my narcissism. That they were the one thing that has been powerful enough in my life to finally get me to stop thinking that I am the most important thing. And there's so much freedom in that. I totally understand why. I grew up in a non-religious household. So my parents were very kind. In many ways, my mom was one of 9 large Irish Catholic families. So I think that there might be some similarities there. But very nice people and spiritual. But my mom, I think, around the kitchen counter, because she had some bad experiences within the Catholic Church, would openly describe herself as an atheist and openly talked about religion as being something that she appreciated aspects of the spirituality, but rejected the dogma of what went along with the church and what was capable and the people that had been abused under that authoritative system. She had strong opinions on that. Influences everything. You know what I mean? Like the way that she grew up, the things that she saw, the things that she says, those were all things that became deeply embedded in me. And then you have to figure out, are these things that I want to be deeply embedded in my kids? And the amount of self-evaluation that you have to do at times where you might not have even done the evaluation for yourself, never mind being able to think about your kids. I just know personally, there has been things that I've gone through that I've been able to build resilience from, but the biggest mistakes that I have ever made in my life were made on behalf of, the things that I feel the most regret about is the mistakes that I made as a parent. And I made some pretty big mistakes as a parent that really caused my children to have to carry the burden of my mistakes so that I didn't have to. It was very cowardice the way that I experienced that. And still to this day, I forgive myself because I understand why those things can happen, but I sure as fuck won't forget, because if I do, then I'll make the same mistake over again, right? And I think that's the other side of resilience is it's like, okay, you've got to figure out how to let go of things, but you also have to figure out how not to stop looking at them.
Do they know that you made a mistake?
Yeah. So I went through a very difficult divorce with their mom. And on the other end of that, it was so difficult for me that I couldn't fathom the idea of, I both logistically and emotionally couldn't fathom the idea of being alone afterwards. And so I just sort of rushed out into the dating scene probably before I should, 6 months after this thing happened. I met somebody who I fell in love with, and I ended up, that turned into a long-term relationship. And I did talk about prioritizing my kids above that relationship. But in the end, we ended up in an environment that just was maybe better for me than it was for them. And they never felt comfortable in that house. So we went through 3 years of that. And then at the end of 3 years, I recognized what I was doing. I had enough time to be able to sort of recover from what I needed to. And I brought them on a ride in the car, and I just said, guys, I messed up. I made this decision. I was in a ton of pain. I shouldn't have done it, but I've asked you to carry the burden of that, and that needs to end. And I just said, I really don't want to be twice divorced. Will you give me a year to see if I can figure this out? And they said, absolutely. And so we took it 1 year at a time. And then 5 years after that, the 3 of us decided that it still wasn't the situation that we wanted. And so I ended up letting that relationship go, and we went in another direction. But I didn't feel any freedom until I admitted that I had fucked up. I told him exactly where I was at. It was probably the first time that I felt like I've never lied to my children, but it was the first time that I had been truly honest with them.
I think parents are so afraid to talk to their kids. It's so wild. I'm like, you're just a human and they're just humans. And I know that it's not easy, but I was a huge part of a divorce. I think I've told you that, that I was, or not my divorce, the divorce I came into with kids involved. And I was just like, you guys just talk to these kids about what's going on.
I might be an anomaly then. I have said I'm sorry to my kids so many times.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I understand why it's not easy because I think naturally parents just want to protect their kids and they're just like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get it all together. And then I'm going to talk to them and it's going to be great and it's going to be awesome. But like, then like in your situation, I imagine that some time goes by and you go, all right, this is still wonky. I don't know. I should talk to them, but wait, I'll just keep working on it and I'm going to fix it in
Yeah.
next week and next month and da, da, da. And then suddenly you're like, okay, this is what this looks like. I am an imperfect human. I want to connect with my kids. I want to have good communication. I think it's time to just talk to them and be like, this is where I am. Everything's a work in progress. I just want you to know you can talk to me. And like, I'm sorry that things aren't the way that I wish they were for you guys right now.
I think, it was like I hadn't been able to peel back the layers of my own onion enough to even understand how to share the truth with them. There was like things that I wasn't giving myself permission to even tell myself that I had made a mistake. I was still holding on as white knuckling to this idea that like, no, I can make this work. I just need to work harder. I need to outwork this problem. And there are certain things that can't be outworked. But it's not that, at least from my point of view, parenting is very complex because you can go back and you can be like, well, I tried to give the best that I could. And I legitimately did give the best that I could. I mean, I had gone through something very, very difficult that I needed to recover from. And I was also trying to parent children, one of which was still nursing. And, then I would have for a week and try to take care of them. I was just a lot going on. And then you're trying to figure out how much do I say? How much do I not say? The point is, though, that the truth is the only thing that works. The truth is the only place where you get any freedom because it allows you to be able to reprioritize the way that you want to do anything. And it doesn't even matter. We can all arrive at the truth from beautifully different paths of doing it. But in the end, it's coming to terms with peeling back as many of the layers as you possibly can until you find the people who you love the most. And you're like, this is 100% who I am. The most important thing that I learned about parenting in those moments was that if you want to be a good parent, the only thing that you can do is to become the best version of yourself and then try to teach your kids how you did it. There isn't anything else. Like, if you don't know the other people's kids, you don't have any idea what their personalities are or how you adjust to them. It's just about trying to figure out how do you get a grasp on making sure that you're working every day to know how to get better? And then can you teach them those basic methods so that they can find their own personality, become their own unique self, hopefully exceed their parents and go on and the next time somebody needs to have a conversation with them where the person is bringing tremendous vulnerability, that you've done the work to be able to overcome the moment that created that friction for you becomes a beautiful moment between you and somebody else.
I would piggyback on that, a forgiveness for self packaged in grace for when you don't rise to the occasion and making sure they're a witness to that. When you give them the opportunity to see what you're speaking of, and then seeing the trip and fall, and then they see you get back up. And then they see you, you might beat yourself up for a little bit, but then there's that moment of, I'm okay, and I'm loved regardless, and I love you, and I love you regardless. Well, in my case, there's 3 of them, and here we go again. Like, it's because we're imperfect, wildly imperfect, and as much as I'm built for wanting perfection, it's been I think one of my greatest abilities as maturity and age is to be like, yep. And so, like, case in point, when my husband and I would fight, our eldest is probably, like, he's really emotionally intelligent. Like, we actually even did those tests, and that was the one he scored, like, wildly high on. And we noticed very early on that he was very sensitive to the volume of a raised voice, of everything. Like, he would literally... it was like almost like the hair on the back of his neck would stand up, and he'd find wherever he was in the house, and he would stand around the corner so he could be a witness to it, but not be visible to us, and we knew he was there. So Brent and I, early on, when we recognized this in him, said, if they're in earshot of our disagreement, they will also be witness to us making up. They need to see it come full circle. And that was like a pact that we had with each other. And we have carried that through. And Christian to this day, he's 20 freaking 4. And he still is that kid. He's very concerned with the health of our marriage. I'm like, that's not your job. You're like the kid. We are, and he's like, I know, but it's who I am, and he wants to witness it. And he wants to be part. I'm like, and he actually asks really good questions. I'm like, you're not a therapist, but damn, you'd be good at it. Yeah. So
Well, we seem to be patterns. You know what I mean? So if you pick up a pattern when you're a kid, like we were talking about, it's very difficult to get rid of that pattern because sometimes it's a pattern that you pick up in your subconscious and you just keep playing it out. And it's not until you bring it to your consciousness that you're even able to recognize it as a pattern and decide whether
your
you
awareness, your first tile.
But the thing that sometimes gets missed in that is that it works in both directions. We think a lot of times about some of the more traumatic patterns that we pick up when we're children, but there's also like having a mom and dad who are willing to say, the pattern is that sometimes we fight, but it's also the pattern is that you can see that we always figure out a way to come back together and talk through whatever that is. That's a pattern that your son will now bring into every relationship he has because right?
Yep.
I just happened to also recognize that I was creating patterns for my sons that were not going to be healthy for them when they got to that point, and I had to own up to it before I could figure out whether I could make sure that I wasn't putting them in a position where they were disadvantaged.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
when that awareness, you narrate that for them. Like your aha moment can come in the moment later, whatever, but to allow our kids or whomever be a witness to that maturation is like, I think that's a gift.
I think it's a gift around this table. I think it's a gift with all human connection in general is that we've gotten so used to trying to keep each other at arm's length because it makes us feel a little bit more safe to be able to do that because vulnerability is what it sounds like. You're vulnerable. And the other person on the other end can handle that in a number of different ways. If you're vulnerable and you're sharing something that is intimate and important to you and the person comes back and rejects you, I mean, you just described that is a very painful process to go through. And on the other side, you could be vulnerable and open yourself up to somebody and you could find a Dutch apartment for 3 months, so
That's true.
it's difficult. But the question is, as adults, how do we set the example around this table? How do we set the example in general about which one's the better strategy? And in my life, being vulnerable has always been the better strategy. There are things that you can go through that maybe don't work out. That's for the 1 hour mark. We're 1 hour into this conversation.
I was
like, oh my gosh.
I totally picked up on that. I'm like, I see.
It's meant to be a sound for a sand timer.
Oh,
is
but
what
it's
meant to be because we have sand timers are one of the the central themes of what we're doing.
But I have a question.
Yes, please.
You guys are talking about when I don't have kids. So I'm always thinking about how am I going to bring a kid into the world and how am I going to raise it. But I also think my mom and I, we have this great connection. I was born when I was 27 weeks. So
young, little
very,
girl.
yeah.
Creamy.
And then my mom, she told me that she was leaving the world. And when I start crying, so the doctor said that I was not alive. And then she pulls me out and I start crying. And then my mom came back and then she was I think it was 27 days that she was in a coma. And then
27 weeks, 27 days. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom came back and she couldn't believe I was alive. She's like, she's not alive. I cannot believe it. And then we have this amazing connection that sometimes she doesn't have to talk and I already know what she's thinking.
Wow.
It's just insane. I'm like, that's the only person I have this great connection with. I love I'm very deep. I love to have this type of conversations. It's amazing.
Well, I have a podcast you need to listen to. Telepathy tapes.
Okay.
What you're talking about, this idea of it's fascinating.
Well, do you think you and your mom are connected because you had this deep spiritual experience together? Or do you think it's because you have that you're so close to each other that you're able to tap into sort of a shared consciousness that you can?
I think both. I think it was very spiritual. But growing up, I was like very close to my dad. And then my mom and my dad, they got a divorce. And then I wanted to stay with my dad. And he was like, no. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you're doing this. I was 13. And then he didn't want us to stay with him. So we had to stay with my mom. And then she would talk to me like every single day. She would be like so nice. My mom is great. She loved to talk. Like at home, I don't like screaming. I get like, if I get into a fight and then people start screaming, I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here. Like we can talk when we're like calm, but now if you're gonna scream, like I'm not gonna listen.
It's not an effective tool, right? Like
It is
violence
not.
is an effective tool.
No.
So it makes sense that you'd walk away anyways, right?
Yeah, I'm like, we can talk later if you want to, but this is it. And then I have to go because I don't like it. But like with time, you guys were talking about like trauma. Like when you grow up and you realize, okay, what's my trauma? What do I have? Mine is abandonment. Like, I don't know why I keep like attracting the same thing over and over, like the type of guys that they don't want to stay, they don't want to commit. I don't know if it's just how it is nowadays, could be, or it's just like you have to learn how to set your boundaries. Like, I'm like, this is my limit. Like, if you're going to go over it, this is it. And I have been like practicing it. And then I've run into a book called Shadow Work. Like, I wanted shadow work is amazing, but it's so painful because you have to deal with the parts of yourself that you don't like. Like, I love to be like, oh my gosh, I'm amazing, I'm great, but like, we're not. There are days that you don't wanna, you're not amazing. There are days that you feel like, oh my gosh, where am I going? Why am I doing this? Is there a purpose in life? So I feel like it's really hard to learn to let go and to adjust. Because, I mean, life is about letting go and adjust and building yourself all over again. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about trauma. Like, how do you deal with it when you know that you have it? Because it's just not a straight line, like how they said. It's just really hard. How do you guys do it? Like,
I could take this one.
Have at it.
I think it's a great question. I wish that it was. I mean, it kind of, I would say maybe social media is talked about a lot now, which is great. I actually think that's a really great part of social media. I mean, we could get into the nuances of the digital world and go into the deepest, darkest rabbit hole. But like, just for the sake of keeping things surface level, I do think that it's great that like feelings are like on trend and healing trauma is on trend. Like, I think that that's exciting. And I think it's a long time coming too. Because obviously like trauma begets more trauma in families. Like, we know that if there's trauma in the family, it gets passed down, and then it can only be stopped by a person that is like knows and is says, no more, this stops with me. I am done carrying on this trauma, and I will do the healing that it takes to make sure that this doesn't get carried on. And to do that, you have to do the work, right? Like, you have to do the work with trauma. Now, what you were just saying, that you were saying that your fear is abandonment, and that probably comes from the fact that your dad left early on, and that's now like in your heart, and it's very scary. I have one of my best friends lost her dad, and she is having a really hard time getting into relationship because of the same exact reason. And she's incredibly smart. She's beautiful. She's interesting. She's awesome. And she's having a really hard time with that. So much so that she really dips mostly out of it and then will come back into it. And then the men that she does meet are just not the right fit for her. But I feel like healing trauma is getting out of your comfort zone, because after, like I said, so hard right when my mom basically told me that she rejected my humanity, who I was at the time. And like I said, I want to just reiterate that this has a happy ending. But at that moment, with that hard right, my life took a hard right too, because at that moment, my mom told me that I wasn't worth being loved in that moment. She basically, it was like, to me, it was like, you're not worthy of love because it's not unconditional, because love is not unconditional. And up until that point, I was like kind of the golden child. I was kind of the golden child of the family. And I was just like, I was living in New York City. I was working in film. I had traveled all over the world. I had this beautiful, incredible, gorgeous life, so incredibly privileged, beyond belief. Still am, still believe that I was incredibly privileged. But then my parents don't see me as human anymore. And that's really, really scary spot to be in, right? So what that looked like at that point was that I wasn't worth having a partner that was going to be, that saw me as someone valuable. So it was partner after partner of like just basically abuse at the end of the day. It, like cheating on me, mean to me, like terrible person after person, and I was just like, I must not be good at this. Like, I must really not be good at this. I don't know if anyone has ever dated and felt like that in this room. Like, I just must not be good at this.
No, I have never felt that way. It's just more like, I mean, everything is energy.
Yeah.
So I keep attracting the same energy. Well,
So I want to just say, just so I can carry this all the way through, that there was a moment. I don't know what it was. I really don't know what the exact moment it was that I woke up from this crazy track that I was on for so long of,
Did I meet you around that time? Because I feel like I
maybe.
No, I feel
Maybe
like
you did.
I didn't know you.
I think you did.
I didn't. Yeah, I felt like I saw this. Like, I met you in the Bloom section. Of,
Yes. I had just moved to Amesbury. I got out of this very, very treacherous relationship, and
I can't imagine that version of you. The Mary I know would never have accepted
I
that.
know
It's wild.
I know, but okay. So are we? How woo-woo are we allowed to get? I guess people talked about their spirituality, so I can
Yes.
talk about
To
mine.
me, it's
Be
all
you.
All right,
love all
great.
the woo.
So
I'm a big woo.
all right, I know we are
love me
little
some
woo-woo
woo.
here. So, but I have a great homeopath, and that is basically it's medication based on energy. And there's a lot of energy healing. There's Reiki, there's yoga, there's homeopathy, there's like magnets, there's you can go on and on and on
We are
about
all
like
energy.
we are all energy. So I had a great homeopath, and she just kept kind of working with me and saying like, I don't know if you know this, but like, you actually do have to be with someone that loves you in order for you to actually heal, and they can't be mean to you, and it has to actually be good. And it's tough to get to that spot that you feel like you deserve that kind of love. And then I found this great community in Amesbury, and I started finding myself as like an older person, no longer like, going from, being in my 20s and my 30s, where there's all this pressure that you put on yourself. And I said to myself, like, it's enough for me that I am in this community that I think loves me and I love it. And like Amesbury and all the people here, it was just so, so, so cool. And I'm going to be a great friend, and I'm going to be a great family member to my family. I have a great family, and I'm just going to start taking care of the people that I can take care of, and start just enjoying life exactly with what I have, and not needing that next thing to make my life complete, And that's when you meet the love of your life.
Every time. That's exactly when I met Brent. It's you nailed it.
But I think you're kind of like saying what she was saying earlier, which is, was it because you started to like believe in the idea that you are falling in love with your environment and with yourself. And so it naturally opens you up to be able to, does it mean
I think
that's when you find that person, or does it mean that you're now open enough
I
to
think
allow
that I
that person to
finally
enter?
got to a place where I was like, I think I'm ready to have boundaries and believe that I am like worth taking care of, and that I need to take care of
Yeah.
myself in the way that I would take care of a person that I love.
Yeah.
And that has to be enough, that my extreme boundaries for like an intolerance for anyone who is unkind to anyone else around me or to me, that it was just like, these are hard boundaries and they are never ever to be crossed again.
Yeah.
If I see an injustice with somebody else and I'm in their presence, I will stop it, and it has to be the same for me too.
Yeah.
And that just became a practice, like a true practice. It really did.
We get good at anything we practice.
Yeah, it became a practice. And I would say to myself, is this in my integrity right now? Am I acting in my integrity right now? And even like if I started to be attracted to some sort of drama that was like outside of my integrity, I'd go, no, it's out of my integrity. Like I'm not, I already know where this leads, I already know where this goes. And
Had you defined your integrity as any like specific traits within that you were looking for? Like what are the kinds of things that you consider integrity?
oh, great question. I like that. I think that what I consider to be integrity is someone that is really empathy. Like, and I can read it immediately. I know everyone in this room. I'm just getting to know you, but I've talked to both of you individually at length, and we all have deep empathy for other people and an ability to read the room and say, that person's hurting. I'm going to show up for them, or I'm going to give them space, or whatever that looks like. And that also is like, integrity is that wherever you go, it never matters what you're going to gain. It only matters that collectively we are all gaining something together. So integrity, I think, matters a lot in your job that you do, I only work with clients who I believe have integrity. Like, and if I run into a situation where I'm like, this doesn't feel in line with like myself being taken care of, or if I see them not taking care of other people, I'm out immediately. I'm out. Because you know what, what's going to happen. We all know the end. And it doesn't mean, by the way, that like, if you are in a situation where you feel like, you're not in your integrity, or other people are challenging your integrity, it doesn't mean that you can't be a pilot. It just means this isn't a good place for me to be in. This isn't healthy. I'm sensing toxicity in this environment, and I know enough to know myself, and I trust myself that this isn't a good fit for me. And then you say, thank you so much for the opportunity. I've learned some things. I wish you the best, and I'm gonna head that way. And you can also leave with integrity too, and you can keep things intact. And however things are handled on the other side is not your business at that point. Your business is to say, no, thank you. This was an interesting learning experience for me. I wish you the best.
Yeah.
Heading out the door.
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yeah, they're very.
Yeah. But that whole other focus when you were coming out of, when you moved to Amesbury and you became other focused, I think that's, at least for me, it was the most, it was a time of growth, and when I think you ready yourself for that person, whomever that might be. And I remember reading, I listen to way too many podcasts and read too many things, but like the more you are witness your own image, be it now we have these phones and we look and we're on like selfie image, or we're talking to people or snapping our images. And the more we're in mirrors, like the less and less happy we are. We're not wired to be self-focused to that degree that we are now, unfortunately, in a world where we kind of just are by default. When we turn that attention to others, when we help others, and they think, that's why it's so like people like think giving is about them. The main recipient of the gift is you as the giver. And when you kind of just really just spend that time, and not with the ulterior motive, like I'm gonna like fix that situation because I'm gonna focus on them, and I know it's gonna flip the script and it's gonna be about me later. I mean, you could probably go about it that way, but that's probably not the best way to go about it. But when you spend that time just loving on others, like getting out of your own way, getting out of your own image, it just, and you feel, to go back to the gratitude we talk about, like the that's when the things start to jive. And then you're not even looking necessarily for the person. They just show up. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's interesting. Didn't expect that person to show up. But you're also in your flow state when you're doing it right. And then you don't have that smell of like neediness is maybe not, I don't know if that's the right word, but like, and then it's just like, then you're like, I don't know what it is. The dance just works. Like the lead, there's no one leading. I don't know. Is that way too abstract? Is that making sense?
No, it totally, I mean, it totally makes sense. I think something that I learned along the way when I had finally gotten on to my big hard thing, which was this really tough relationship. And I had overcome that. And then I was like, oh, what else can I do? You know, like I really love that line now from this book that I'm reading. But then I'm talking to my homeopath along the way because I meet the love of my life and she is the coolest person in the world. And we are so happy. And now we're like, I'm just like, everything, the universe is like completely in line. And Megan knows she married us.
That's beautiful.
But so then we're married. Everything's great. I'm having the time of my life. I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm like, love. And it's all good. But then I start bumping into things again out in the world in different spots, right? I start bumping into things. So then I'm like, homeopath, what the heck? I thought we got over this, right?
Little tests.
And she's like, no, now you just know where your line is.
Yeah.
And you're going to define that further and further as you go because it's not perfect in any way. That line is like, it's still not easy or unmessy to get to the place where you're like, all right, so I know something's not feeling good and I'm really uncomfortable and I'm not happy. And now I got to figure out, when do I let it go or when do I push through it and keep going? Because like challenge, of course, is beautiful. We should feel challenged. Like we can still be in relationships that challenge us. Like we should still be
Iron
in relationships.
sharpens iron.
We should still be in relationships with challenge us, whether with work, with friends, with family, whatever that looks like. And there is a pushing through that too. There isn't like, it's like, it doesn't mean like every time you're uncomfortable, you're like, cut that cord. We don't do that, right? Like there's still some perseverance through those relationships.
Resilience and all of it.
But
yeah.
There's also the line, like right after I got married to Becca, I took this big job and it was like my my dream job. It was like I was the head of this video production company overseeing like 22 people, and it was set up to be my dream job. And it very quickly, I learned, wasn't going to work out for me, and I wanted to give it plenty of time. But I remember going to HR and she's like, so what's the deal? And I'm like, well, I chose Becca, who's my wife, and it taught me that I really only do things that are in line with like my core belief system, in line with my integrity, and that I enjoy and that I'm having fun doing. And I'm not doing any of that with this. And it's been an incredible opportunity, but this is not in line and I got to go find my next thing. And I believe now that like another thing that my homeopath said, and it's like, you could say religion, spirituality, whatever your
I've been a witness to all these things you're talking about, which is so funny.
Is like
I love
that.
this.
And this is in line with anybody's spirituality. Honestly, it's like it could be biblical, it could be God, it could be whatever God in any religion. But the idea is like, if you're not supposed to be bumping up into things that aren't for you. If you are, then it's not for you. So moving on from those doors fit quicker and opening up other ones is going to get you to where you want to be faster.
One of the things, so last night we did a podcast on impermanence and essentially death. You know, what is it like? Is it important to be able to think about your mortality, to be able to make sure that you have the ability to understand the now? You know, like, do you need to be able to understand that things can and always do come to an end so that you can appreciate how to make sure that you're not missing the moments that exist right now? But one of the things that came out of that was really interesting is that we all agreed that language has this really interesting opportunity, and you're multilingual, so you could even give us perspective on how other languages also do this in different ways. But language gives us this really interesting tool to be able to look at the duality of anything. You know what I mean? So if there's one word that means this, what's the word that means the opposite of that? And then how do we figure out where the balance might be between those two places? And what we were saying was an interesting contrast is that love and trauma both have really interesting things in common to the degree where it feels like they might be the two opposite sides of the same thing, because trauma, if you've ever had, you know, if we all agree, we've all gone through something traumatic before and you've tried to resolve that, the one thing you learn is that it never leaves you. You just become really good at understanding how to manage those feelings as they come up. So it's, you know, in the beginning, it's like you're caught in a tsunami and you're just like trying to get to a breath of air and you just feel like you're going to be there forever. And then a couple months go by and you're like, oh shit, it was like I had a little bit of time between waves, but I'm still in it. And then years go by and you're like, okay, pretty calm right now, but I recognize that there's always a wave that's going to come at some point. And when it comes, I got to learn how to ride that wave. But it never leaves. It's always there. It's a part of us in the same way that if you fall in love with somebody, that never leaves either. You know what I mean? It's if you really loved somebody. And last night I happened to be talking about it because I lost my mom a year and a half ago. And one of the profound things that came from that, one of the beautiful things that came from that loss was recognizing that grief is the cost and the consequence of love. You know, so trauma and grief and all of the things that you have to go through is the consequence of feeling. Like, and the more intensely you feel about somebody, the more impact they've had on your life. Sometimes that can get confusing because sometimes people make you feel a lot of negative things. And then you have all these negative emotions that start to come up when you have to deal with the consequences of that on the other side. But it's also true that if you deeply love somebody, if you lose them, it makes you appreciate the idea that that's the cost. Everything has a cost. There isn't anything that you can do in all of life that doesn't have a cost and a consequence to it. And it's just figuring out what is the negotiation you want to make at any given time for, you know, for where you go with that.
Well, maybe not Ozempic. Time will tell.
Ozempic is extremely interesting.
You even got a giggle behind the wall.
I don't love the idea.
You probably know more about it because it's in on the fitness side. I mean, like from what I understand is that it's a very
That
interesting
was a joke. You can.
No,
I just had to say it at the time. I was just.
I think we've
popped into
discovered-
my head. And I just
but it is.
could not
That's
say
a
it
total different tangent.
because I always think like there's no free lunch, and then I'm like, but I guess maybe with Ozempic, there
But it
is.
doesn't
I'm not
sound
sure.
like Ozempic is either, though, because what they're finding is what Ozempic is doing is it's turning off receptors in your brain that make you don't
Human.
want to do something.
Human.
But as soon
Yeah.
as people stop taking it, that desire melts away and they go right back to wanting it the same level they wanted it before. So it's not actually it's not solving a root problem. It is it's
Well, we're all
blocking a
probably in
receptor.
alignment
Well,
with that
Brett,
here.
that's why you just have to buy their product forever. Obviously.
And there we have it.
But I think that's the whole idea about it. Because you start taking it, let's say, like certain amount, and then you start reducing it and reducing it and reducing it, and you're not learning anything because you're not learning how to eat properly. You're not learning to do exercise. You're just taking it, and that's it. And
How do we go here?
Me.
For me, it's just like what you said. You're not solving the problem.
Yeah.
You're just using it. And the time will come that you have to stop using it. And then you're all the way back to the beginning.
Listen, the
Yes.
same could be said for AI. Ozempic is literally just a metaphor
I
for
completely
AI.
agree. It's a metaphor for everything that we're talking about tonight. But
It is.
but I will say, from my perspective, I just want to say that I find it to be a full-time job to figure out my own shit. You know what I mean? I wake up every day and I have to go right back to the beginning of self-awareness to figure out where my blind spots are and what I'm trying to go through. And I've never dealt with anything that would have made Ozempic the thing that I would have considered as my tool that I needed to get over something. But I sure as shit have had my own tools. So I appreciate why Ozempic is there and I appreciate that it can help people. But the larger question and the thing that I think does get to the base of resilience in general is, can we afford to do surface solutions anymore in this world? Or do we need to have deeper conversations about how we have to get to the root of problems, that we have to go deep into things to understand why is it that we still have a desire to do something that we know is not in our best interest?
Do you want surface answers
No.
or deeper answers? It depends on your outcome. What everything is like, tell me where you want to go, what you want your eventual destination to be. And if you want the deep version, you're going to need the deep work. You want the Ozempic answer, or do you want to put the dumbbell in your hand and the fillet in your other hand and have at it, and all the other habits that go with it? I think it depends on where you're. I mean, not everyone wants to go all the way.
Stress and mental health.
All the
and
things,
all of it.
exactly. The sleep. I mean, there's so many. But I think some people don't want the full answer. They want a bunch of mini answers.
Well, and
to
then
carry them from A to Z.
But then the question is like, I mean, so for me at least, like I'm not judging. I truly,
and
am
for some
not.
people, you go back to what you said.
I truly am not.
If you are taking it, it's a great tool while developing all the habits, and it's a great way. Like I'd like a life preserver on a person in a very deep body of water who's learning to swim, but you need to learn to swim. And then the preserver may not be on you forever or it may deflate or whatever, but it's helpful if you learn to swim while you're, gosh, me and my freaking metaphors.
Oliver said it, and your timing was perfect, Oliver, especially as the Oz. But I think when you go down deeper, right? So there's one layer of deeper where it's like the individual person has to make the decision where are they going to recognize that our bodies are very complex for a number of different reasons that make us all unique. But there is one thing that makes all of us exactly the same, that your body operates off of three basic patterns. What are the calories that you're intaking? What's the quality of those calories to turn those calories into energy? And then how do you choose to move your body on the other end of that? Those are the three basic mechanisms that we all have to deal with.
And there's more to it though. There's all the environment in which all this is going in, and there's the gut, there's layers and the layers. But to go back to your first pillar, the awareness, you test things out and you get a sense of, oh, my energy's better, my sleep is better, I'm not as reactive to the relationships I'm in. It's amazing, all the things. And if you take notice, great. That is a tool that we will continue to carry on and maybe add a little more in. Awesome. Now that I've had time with that tool, let's add in a second tool.
Yes.
Don't add in 10 at one time. It never works. And then spend some time. Now measure. And you can measure in a very subjective way, but if you've got a coach, maybe you're being more objective. I like, when I coach people, like people forget all the time. Write it down. And then, great, awesome. Now you've got a second or third tool to add in. And then it continues on. And then eventually you have this like toolkit full of tools that you've learned, you know how to use in certain balances. They're not overwhelming. They come naturally to you. And you don't have to it's not a burden anymore because it's sort of like you've automated it. But it's like the quick fix. It's like that hammer didn't work. Throw that away. You might need the hammer, whatever. Onto the screwdriver, the next quick fix.
Yes.
And it's like, it's exhausting. And I feel so sad when I see people I tried all the tools, none of them work.
But there's something that I think needs to be talked about as to why it's so exhausting, which is that if you took exactly what we just talked about in the body, and if anybody disagrees that those are three basic parts of how the body works, we can talk about that too. But I would say that if you look at the mind and the way that the mind works, it's entirely possible that the mind is a perfect mirror of the body, and that's we don't have the ability to have the science to look at the mind the way that we look at the body. The body gives you very clear signals that you can follow. Write this down. Did you get this outcome? Did you not get this outcome? The mind doesn't work that way. It's invisible. It's something that you have to get more deeply in tune with your nervous system to understand your evaluation of thoughts and feelings, to be able to start to figure out how that goes. But I would argue, and I can explain why I came to this conclusion, but that the mind is a mirror in this way. If your body requires calories, what your mind uses is information as a substitute for calories. So anytime you're in a conversation like this, anytime you're talking to a friend, anytime you turn on your television, anytime you get your phone out, that is information that's like calories for your mind. And any information you're consuming, you have to try to decide, is this junk food? Is this healthy food? Is this, like, what kind of calories am I taking in? But then you have to take those calories, and your brain instantaneously wants to turn that information into decision making. The brain makes, scientifically, they believe, I don't know how they come up with this number, but they think we make somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 decisions a day. So that's so many decisions that it's very unlikely that you can even make all of those decisions from your conscious mind. That your subconscious now is making lots of decisions based on patterns that you've inherited from other people that have nothing to do with you. And then the last piece is, how do you choose to communicate that? What's the action that you're putting to that? In the same way that, how are you using the energy to move your body? But it's really difficult, because what I think we haven't discovered about, hopefully, the direction of humanity and how we can try to figure out how to do better is that we market to each other in a way where we try to fill the information bucket with things that make people feel something about themselves, where they identify with those feelings so heavily that it makes them want to buy a product or try this or do that. And in the end, and actually, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because all of the videos that I've ever seen that you've done, and the reason why I always so attracted to working with you in the way that you do it, is because I always feel like when you are looking to tell somebody's story, you start from where you can see them wholly. You try to get to know the person, and then you work backwards from making sure that they're represented in the storytelling. But if you think about the way that most marketing works, what it's trying to do is figure out, what are the hot buttons for a person? How do we create a marketing campaign that manipulates those feelings to the degree that it forces this person into feeling like they need this thing, rather than being able to contemplate whether it's in their best interest at any given moment? That's kind of an awful thing to do to each other. You know what I mean? That's a really deep-seated manipulation of one another, and it's been happening through propaganda for a very, very long time. And I think if we want to get on the other side of this, we have to talk about how the deepest layer is maybe in, like, how do we control our environments to make sure that our mind is as clear as it can possibly be to make great decisions for our body? Or how do we get our body as clear as we can get it to be, so that we can have a better ability to be able to start working on our mind? But if we don't do both of those in sequence, and we don't stop manipulating each other, can we ever get out of that cycle, or are we stuck?
Yeah, I selfishly, like, when I'm producing commercial work for companies, I definitely love the humanness. And I would say that also, like, I really only work with companies where I feel like there is a lot of humanity already built in. And they hire me, I think, because they know that I can see the humanity and really bring it out in their company. I mean, I've been working with Megan now for 5 years. Megan owns multiple fitness studios, and they are so much more than that. I mean, you can't even scratch the surface of the community that Megan provides here in Amesbury. It's really, I've brought friends in from all over the country, and they can't believe that we have what we have. And so much of that is because there's, like, this incredible seeing every single person that comes in as this whole beautiful, perfect individual person who we can't wait to get to know them, and we're excited to learn more about them. And that's the vibe. And, I was so attracted to working with Megan in all the work that we've done together, because I do get to tell these people's stories, and specifically how it relates to us all coming to this incredible place where we all wake up in the morning and we come in and we're like bedraggled and who knows what. And we are all having to go to work like in 5 minutes after we leave class. And people are going through really deep, hard stuff. Some people are just like having a great time and they want to talk about vacations and whatever. But it's not at all what you would expect from a fitness studio. It is such a community-driven place, but it's because Megan already has that in her to create a space like that, but also because our marketing is very focused on, we're looking for anything but like fitness people. We're looking for people who are looking to connect with other people.
Yeah.
Fitness is truly just it's almost like a footnote of the whole story. Do you agree?
You capture the moment where somebody is having a moment while they're exercising. That's what I've always seen in those videos, is you're capturing somebody like have that moment of self-confidence that happens when you know you're putting in the work. And I think that's, openness attracts openness. So if what you're doing is saying this is an environment that is where you can come to grow, then it's going to attract people who want to grow. It's a really beautiful way to put the concept of a business out there. But I do think we have to look at the other side of that too, which is that's probably the rarity in marketing at this point, as far as the way that if you turned on the World Cup and you watch it and there's a commercial that comes on that's like selling laundry detergent, like that's not, the last time I saw that I was like, they think that we're this dumb. Like this is the version of a person that they think is going to buy this product, or they're setting that up in that particular way.
But it's funny because like on my social media, I'm marketed very human stories with like a diverse group of people because that's what I'm interested in. So I see it a lot. But, like I said, I just started working with a builder, and I was like, how would you feel if we talked about a lot of stuff that's not just building? Like, what if we talked about you? What if we talked about like why you care and your passion behind this? And that was the focus, and the people that want to make what they want. And it's not about just awesome shots of rock being poured out of cars and foundations being built in hammers and then end product. Like, what if we're telling like human stories about why these projects come together and things like that? And like, what if we tell more human stories? I think, and from what I know, again, here you go, I'm going to curveball it up and say that I can tell you right now that it will be what will beat AI, will be like, if you want to do successful marketing, we're all going to be using AI in different ways. I'm aware of that. I'm not I'm not fully anti-AI. I'm anti a lot of things. I'm anti climate change and like data centers for sure, beyond. But I am not anti-AI. I think that there's a balance. I think AI can do a lot of good. Has anyone seen the AI doc? Have you seen
No.
the AI doc?
Oh, it's going to scare me. I don't want to do it.
No, it's a great balance. It's very much like this room.
Okay.
It's a great balance. It tells you the good and the bad. And it's really
like
good.
ground news.
It's really cool. But I think that what will beat AI will be human stories and human. AI like thinks that humans know best still, and humans do know best. They know the
Pendulums
best.
always swing.
So I
feel safe.
So stop making AI flyers before I kill everyone in the
They're so obviously AI flyers. I always, whenever I get my panties in a bunch about something that's happening, it can be anything. It can be like, in my world, it's like Pilates, and everyone's like, run. And I'm like, but string. There, that's why we do all the things. Or it's like vegan, carnivore. When I was in teaching, phonics. And then they're like, whole language, never sound out a letter ever again, or we're going to fire you. And it's just like everything is so, which makes, I get sad because I think we should be smarter than that. There's a place in the middle.
Balance.
Recognize the tool. Awesome. Be mindful about
Yeah.
it. Be aware. Use it, but know that it can take over. And it's just like the pendulum will swing back because humanity it's just impossible for it not to. I think there'll be some losers in it because there always is. But I trust what you're saying.
I do feel like putting out like human work and like the way that I represent Motivate is like me. Not only do I win because, I have a job and I'm working with Megan and that's great. And I feel really good about it. We have an amazing exchange and that's awesome. But it's more than a job. It's like when I create Motivate videos, I know that I could be like helping people in a way because they could see themselves. And like Megan knows working with me that I'm very adamant about making sure that there's diversity in our videos, that there's with bodies, ages,
Someone can
races,
see
everything.
themselves.
Like I want everyone to feel like they could see themselves there and thriving in that.
And I want you to laugh
space.
and cry a little bit every time you see a video.
But I feel like no matter what job I get, because Megan also kind of helped connect me with like a much bigger commercial job. We won't name names, but I got a much bigger commercial job, and I ended up seeing myself doing this on a much, much larger scale, and it was like so super rewarding. And I was like, and that goes all back to when you are doing what you love and what is right and what is in your heart, then doors keep opening. The minute I'm doing a job where I'm like, I'm feeling like this is going against my principles. I'm not totally jiving with this. Like, I don't like this company and like
Is
what
that
they're
your
doing.
intuition? Is that are you describing your intuition?
I mean, yeah, probably.
It's that
yeah.
rub.
We asked this question last night. Have you ever had a moment in your life where your intuition was wrong?
Never.
Let's
No.
volley to you.
Not really. Like when my intuition says, don't do it, and I go and I do it.
That's when you get it.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can go back and reflect and realize in the times that you kind of were obviously knew that you took a left turn and you should have taken a right, you remember that your intuition was like, go left, go left. Yeah. To make them, we've not had a single person say that their intuition was ever wrong.
But you have to avail yourself to be quiet. You're talking about the body and the mind and all the things. And like you're talking about the inputs of all the things that we're bombarded with the mind.
Yeah.
And the body, all the calories and the nutrition and all. And I kind of alluded to the fact that your gut health has to be somewhat intact for it to get all the benefits of all the things. I would say the same thing as of the mind and intuition. All these things to me tie into giving yourself that space to, and I use the mornings for this mainly, but I actually will try to spend time throughout the day to get quiet enough. And that could be through a few different options. Like I use breath because that just is the most tactile for me. And I use prayer. And then prayer to me is talking. To go back, breath work is my way to kind of hit Control Alt Delete and get in line. Prayer is me talking. And then the meditation part is me listening. And if you give yourself that, and it's very uncomfortable if you're not used to doing that, but giving yourself that at least as a foundational work, and I have to do it, I have to force myself to do it because doesn't come naturally otherwise. And then give yourself throughout the day those moments. Intuition becomes louder, wildly loud. Like the signs, like to me, they're always there and they probably always have been, but the veil was never lifted. And all of a sudden, when you quiet yourself, it's like wild, the signs. You almost start to, I like look up and I giggle. I'm like, are you shitting me? I'm like, that's pretty freaking cool. Appreciate you. I'll walk through that door or what have you. And my mind is much more capable of handling the noise. I don't have to react. I don't have to have my cortisol jack up.
Yeah.
I can go, I see what that is. I recognize what it is. I'll take it and I will weigh it now against this. I don't need to react. I can go find more information and kind of create a compare contrast. I am more in tune with the people I want to work with and I don't want to work with. And it doesn't mean I'm going to have all the right answers, but I give myself that space to create that time to go back to my marination, to just kind of, and maybe it's the age thing, maybe it's more time in the quiet time, but it's wild and it is so freaking awesome. Like it is, I giggle at the opportunities to see. And it's like, I don't know. It's like life gets so much better when you don't, I can start to cry for it because I feel bad when people don't have that opportunity. And it's like magic a little bit, and it can be hoo-ha-y, but it's like there's so much cool stuff on the other side. If you just,
The interesting thing, though, Megan, about intuition is that it seems like it was always with us.
it's always
So
there.
like we can mature into finding the rhythms and the patterns that allow, to be able to use prayer, to be able to quiet yourself, to be able to meditate so that you can observe your thoughts and feelings rather than feel like you are your thoughts and feelings. These are tested over thousands and thousands of years as being very effective ways of being able to start building a relationship with yourself. But it's amazing when you go back and you reflect on earlier versions of yourself where maybe you were feeling chaotic and your mind and body were not all that well in tune with each other. And there was still a voice that was giving you the guidance that you needed all the way along. And when you really reflect on it, that voice was seldom, not pointing you in a direction that was going to be really helpful. I remember this came up for my son when he was leaving for his freshman year in college. He went to CU Boulder, and we were talking about like what's going to be the value of college. I didn't graduate from college. I went for 3 semesters and I dropped out. So I don't have a vantage point in which I can say like, well, this is. But he was asking me, we were talking about what the value of what, for my opinion, what was the value of college for him. And I said, I don't know. I don't know. It's going to depend on what career you want after this. But for me, I'm investing in this experience because I want you to be able to have 4 years where you can begin to trust your intuition. So if you're at school and something tells you that this doesn't feel right to you, I want you to slow down and listen to that. And then because there will not be a time in your life where you'll have more opportunities very quickly to figure out whether you were right or wrong. College has like these very, very quick moments of like, should I go out and drink with these guys?
Stakes are like not that high.
They're not that high, but the consequences are almost immediate. You get to see consequences and outcomes happen really quickly. So it gives you this vantage point to be able to do it. And we had this really great conversation about saying like, listen, I don't care, come home with a degree. That would be helpful for what we're investing. But whether you want to switch your degree, whether you want to do something different, what I need you to do is concentrate on your intuition. Your intuition is what's going to drive you for the rest of your life. And these are 4 years where you get to do it independent of building your identity from me and your mom or your family or anybody else. You get to go be your independent self and you get to figure out how to become in tune with that. But that's not, I never was taught that. You know what I mean? So I don't know how we get to that point where we get to have these deeper philosophical conversations about just how lucky we are to have intuition to begin with, that this is a part of the human condition, is that we have something that is constantly guiding us. I have no idea whether this obviously is just my perspective. It does not mean it's the truth, but the way that I think about it is that I have a mind and I have a body, and both of those things I have control of because I can control the environment in which I put both of them. But then there's me. And I am so curious about what that actually means. But I am confident that that's what intuition is for me. It's that space in between these two filters of information that I've got to be able to make sure that I'm good with one, good with the other. And then this becomes much more clear that I know how to trust the source that's coming out of the controlled environments.
Pretty heady.
Too much? Too much?
It's beautiful.
Oh,
She's a stretch.
Stretch. You want to do question 2?
Oh, heck. We have, my gosh, it's funny. We have more questions.
Yeah, we've got more questions.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, what helps you move forward today? I'm pretty basic. It's always the same answers for me.
Exercise?
It's hitting the basics. Like it's the basics on a daily level.
Yep.
Daily basis. It's like if I skip over them, I can tell every time. Like just did I sleep well? Did I give myself that space to kind of to breathe, to pray, to spend time listening? Did I move my body? Did I lift something heavy? Did I connect? And the ones, I have to be honest, the ones that I probably take for granted the most, are the relationship ones, because they're the ones that are like outwardly focused more. Like the ones that are I can control are the easiest to manage. But the ones like, did I meet my husband in the eyes and hug him? Like that's probably something I skip more easily because, we're always there and it's just like you can take it for granted. So I don't know if I really can answer that question.
Can I ask you both questions? And you can, like, by all means, this is the kind of topic that if you feel uncomfortable talking about it, we don't have to.
Very
by any
little
means.
I'm uncomfortable with. So good luck.
But I didn't grow up with prayer. So I believe because I grew up in a household where I genuinely felt like my parents loved me, that I grew up with positive affirmation, which I think is maybe a form of prayer. But I would love to learn from the two of you how you use prayer, how you feel like prayer shows up in your life. And then maybe we can explore just together as a group what we think that kind of energy manifests on the other side, and is it necessary that it comes from a specifically spiritual place to be able to manifest the same outcomes? So because there are so many religions and so many religions use prayer that it seems like there are, to be completely objective and fair, that there must be many different ways that you can do the same thing that end up maybe giving you the same outcome. But I would just love to learn from the two of you about
I
prayer.
bet we're very much on the same page. I have a feeling just
So we are
my
on the same page.
intuition is going to say,
It could be, yeah. I grew up like Catholic, but I'm not like the typical Catholic.
Okay.
I believe in many things. I believe in energy. I believe in God, but it's the same thing. In the end, everything is energy.
Yeah.
So it's just what you believe. And I believe, of course, there's good and there's bad. At home, we would pray. And it's funny that you ask that question because I have been telling myself that I have to pray more. But it's just not like praying, but it's like saying thank you for what I have. Like I take the time before going to sleep and I'm like, I have to say thank you.
Yeah.
For whatever. Like we're here. We got the time to get together today and meet each other. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very grateful to be here. And I am grateful in everything. Like even being able to drive. I'm very grateful because it's very wild to drive in Massachusetts, coming from an island. So, but I'm grateful. I'm like, you know what? It's grateful to be able to get around. So I have been telling myself lately, you have to pray more.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you disconnect your soul from your heart.
Yeah.
And that's something I have been trying to improve. Like, we have to be connected. Like, in order, because you were talking about intuition, like, in order to be able to listen to yourself, you have to be connected. Your heart and your mind have to be able to work together. So I do believe in prayer, and I believe also in positive thinking. Like, you attract things when you think positive. Like, you're like, maybe I don't have what I want or I don't have what I need, but I'm like, I'm going to get it. It's okay. It's going to work out. And that's how I feel like my life works, like by believing. I come from a very funny family because my mom was like, everything is possible. And my dad was like, nothing is possible. And I was like,
You're
more
the perfect
like,
balance in between. Yeah.
but I was like
I-
more like, my mom. I'm my mom. I'm like, everything is possible. It doesn't matter if I don't know how is it going to happen. I put in the work.
Yeah.
It's not like I sit down and I'm like, okay, it's going to come to me.
Yeah.
No, I put in the work and I'm like, it's going to happen because I am doing the work. So I feel when you do the work, you attract things. And like prayer, my main point is like saying thank you, like being grateful. But I believe that, it is good to pray and it's good to be positive.
Well, the amazing, like when you were talking, the thing that kept, that I kept thinking about over and over again was that gratitude is like the tool. You know what I mean? And so if prayer is an opportunity for you to be able to have intentional gratitude, like what an amazing thing to be able to call yourself to all the time, because it really is the antidote to so many things.
Yeah, I believe that too. And like when I pray, I don't say like things like, dear God, please help me. I'm like, thank you. Sometimes I do it and I go back and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, you're doing it wrong. Just say thank you. Like even if you don't have it, I'm like, okay, thank you for whatever I want that I don't have, but thank you very much. And that's it. Like, that's
Yeah.
how I keep attracting things or even the same energy.
Yeah. Well, you were saying earlier that when you have tried to go out and date, that you have a hard time figuring out how to make sure the energy of that is matching what you want. Because there is different kinds of energy that you have with different kinds of people, right? So there's the energy that you can have working with somebody. Then there's the energy that you're trying to have if you're trying to have a romantic relationship with somebody. And it's not the same feelings. So it's tricky in that way, like gratitude, prayer, intentions sometimes even need a level of specificity to the understanding of how you're looking for exactly this thing of exactly this category. And that I have found as an adult to be very difficult to be able to decipher. You can become very good at something professionally and then forget, like, oh, it's just me over here in this other category too. I don't get to be two separate people. You got to figure out how you carry these from one place to another, you know?
Yeah, it is true. Like dating, I hate the term. Like when they say it's a date, I'm like, I want to get out of here. It's just like, I don't know, it's too much pressure. And for me, it's like I'm Latin. And in the beginning, I was like, okay, I'm not going to say that I want to get married and have kids. And then they would come with the questions. Oh, you're Latin, I know. Latin women love to get married and have kids. And I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. And now it's just like, I'm 33. I want to have kids. I want to settle. It's important. So I'm like, I put the question out there. I'm like, I am looking for someone who really wants to get married and have kids. Do you want the same? They're like, they freeze. And I'm like, okay, you're not the one. And I move on. And people keep on telling me, like, you have very high standards. And I'm like, but I am not asking what I cannot offer. Like, if I can offer you what I'm asking, then I get to ask what I am asking.
Of course you do.
Yeah. And I'm like, right now, I just draw a line. I'm like, okay, you can be whoever you want, and maybe you're amazing, but your energy and my energy, we're not looking for the same thing.
Yeah.
And then we just don't get
Do you know
together.
specifically what you want in a partner? Have you gotten very specific?
I wrote it down one time, and I called him Noah. If
Okay.
you're out there, Noah, please.
But like even like like all the characteristics, like
It was mostly like the inside and
Okay.
not the outside, because you can say, "Oh my gosh, I want this guy that is gonna be," but like that's not really important. Like the inside.
but a
is-
roundabout. Like, do you have a vision?
Well,
I have a
don't
vision.
sell yourself short. Like,
No,
just
no.
have the whole package.
No, of course.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're great people, and they don't look like how you thought. Like
Yeah.
he would
true,
look
true.
like.
Yeah.
Do you make that part of your prayer?
I do. Lately, I haven't. Lately, I'm just like, I feel like God wants me to work on myself.
Okay.
So that when he arrived, I am ready. Because sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I want him to be here. I want him to get here, but you're not ready. So if he gets here tomorrow and I'm not ready, I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
So
but I
right
mean,
now, I'm just putting in the work.
Yeah.
And if he arrives, like, I mean,
yeah.
So you've been married for
26 years, just hit it.
so of 26 years. What have you learned is the most important base
For
to
us?
be able to, in general, in a relationship? What's the foundation that can be really strong to be able to allow something to flourish? In?
Ironically, what we're talking about, prayer, our faith. So I actually got very specific. That's why I asked you about what I wanted after the whole sacrificial bird, and I was prepared to be alone for however long it took, and I was fine. And I took a year to, clear the space. But then when it came time, I got kind of weirdly specific about what I wanted in a person. And that so prayer for me is just a vehicle for it's a conversation. It's a vehicle for the person who I know, the being who loves me the most unconditionally, and I am imperfect and I'm forgiven. I call him Jesus, and I know that I'm loved more than my husband could ever love me. I'm loved more than I could ever love my kids. And that overarching, and the prayer is just the vehicle for getting to know him and him getting to know me. And it sometimes comes in just saying thank you. It's just in gratitude. And sometimes it's in a very specific ask. And sometimes it's gnashing of teeth and crying. and just having nothing. And sometimes it's, I have nothing to say. I'm going to sit here in fetal position and you know my heart. Can you just hang out with me? Because this really fucking sucks. And that's what prayer is for me. And if you want a relationship, you kind of have to show up. And prayer is showing up for that relationship. So it doesn't, grew up Catholic too, and it used to be very scripted. And when I left that part of my faith behind, it became unscripted. Didn't even plan that one. And it's wicked unscripted. It's sometimes, you know, I have nothing. So, and anyway, but I got very specific. And I'm telling you, Brent kind of is bizarrely matches.
What were the characteristics that you were hoping for, and who is your husband?
So I had a series of boyfriends who I forced them into this, like, this is perfect for me. And it was based on a lot of like, you know, oh, you're hot. And I was really turned on and all the things. Like, I'm very visceral. Hopefully my boys never see this. And so when I wanted the person in my life, I realized that I needed, was having been cheated on. When you enter into a space where you quite literally walk into a soap opera scene, when you see a bedroom scene in front of you, you're like, I will never trust this again.
Yeah. And
the person who I was going to spend the rest of my life with, I said, he needs to answer to someone. He needs to have a faith bigger than me. He needs to love. And this is when I realized my faith was probably developing without me realizing it. If he cheats on me, he's cheating on his faith, which is bigger.
Right. His values were
I need
too
to be
powerful.
second to his values.
Yes, understood.
That's what I needed. And what's that going to look like? So in my background, people who match that faith-driven were not attractive to me. I'm like, they kind of look squirrely. I'm like, yeah, nope. And I was like, I really want to be attracted to the person too. So somehow you're going to have to figure this out, God. I want shoulders. I want chest. I want glutes. I want a surfboard. I want a Jeep. I want a Bible. He's got to be hot, athletic, freakishly weird. You know my husband. Like, he quite literally came with a Bible and a surfboard and a Jeep. I shit you not. Like, it was the weirdest thing. When I met him, I was like, this, no, like, it was just too weird. And literally, he walks in the door. I was delivered to his house like a freaking pizza. It felt like I went to visit my friend who was renting his space from he and his roommate. I was going to go teach English as a foreign language, finish grad school, get a TEFL certificate, and move to Argentina with her. And she's like, well, you're going to visit me and you're going to fall in love with my roommate. I'm like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. I'm like, no, I'm not. And he walks in and I'm like, suspect. And we were literally connected at the hip the entire weekend. He takes me back to the airport. A month later, he visits. 6 months later, I moved to Boston. 6 months later, we're engaged. And 6 months later, we're married.
Have you ever reflected on what a good friend you had? Because it sounds like she also called it.
She did. I make myself known. I'm pretty vulnerable. My friends know who I am. And she was like, she nailed it. And she's like, yeah.
But sometimes that's what an incredible gift to have somebody who's like so generous to their friend that they can be like, I have somebody here that I think is going to be.
She knew she was sacrificing our trip to Argentina. We were going to go live in Argentina, have an adventure. And she kind of, now that I think about it, that was wicked selfless of her. Because once I met him and I'm like, oh, I got to see this through. It's like Good Will Hunting. I got to go see about a guy.
The thing that I'm always fascinated about prayer, and I mean this in like just my most literal sense, is just that it is so, the serendipity that happens on the other end of it is so obviously consistent. You can see the people that pray a lot are also finding the things that they're praying for. But then there's also the other side of it, which is that they're also opening up their mind to details. So if somebody says like a color elephant, everybody in the room starts thinking about that color elephant, right? So there's something that goes on that makes prayer not only something that's spiritual, but also that there is something that is happening, in the mind that is allowing this field of vision to be able to open up.
Yeah.
And if he didn't have exactly the Jeep, the surfboard, all of those things that you had put on there, would he have been the person that you had actually found, or would it have been, all of those are very
He asked me the right
fascinating.
questions. He was drilling in, he was asking questions about me that were revealing to me that his priorities were what they were. And I was like, I didn't even know what to do with it. I remember he's driving me back to the airport and I'm like overwhelmed. I'm like, this is bizarre. And then we got to know, and this is before, phones like we have. I think, gosh, we're barely emailing. This is like 1997, 8, 9. So like we got to know each other by like literally being on the phone, which is a great way to get to know someone. Just talking and talking and talking. And all the questions, he was interviewing me I think he knew too. He was in his 30s already. So it's just like, and you did say one thing I wanted to point out, like, yes, we're asking, but part of prayer is recognizing, at least for me, it is that sometimes the answer is no. And I might not love the answer, but I know in the grand scheme of things, it's for my good, for my benefit. So it's like, okay, it's no. Didn't love the answer. I really thought this, but it's okay. And then you have to pray for the patience.
Yeah. How does no reveal itself? How does
the doors close? Like
Gotcha.
that something fails.
Yeah.
It is true. I always say, I don't know where I got that from, but I always say, dear God, if he's not the one, just take him out of my way.
Yeah.
And somehow it always happens.
Yeah.
It's out of my way. And I'm like, okay, I get it. And I'm just going to let it go. And it's really hard. Like letting go sometimes when you really want something.
Very hard.
It is really hard.
It took me, a freaking bird had to give its life and hit a plane for me to be like, fine.
I definitely think the hardest thing that I've ever learned in my entire life was how to be alone without being lonely. Because I think that especially depending on where you are in your family dynamic, sometimes you can pick up these unintended habits of being like a people pleaser. And then you start to learn that that's a mechanic that you can play out in a lot of different environments and you get used to doing that. And then you get kind of addicted to the idea of volleying, that your personality ends up being about volleying off of somebody else to give you some sense of, and then it can be very difficult to figure out how you be alone without feeling like wildly lonely about that. But those are the kinds of things that become more obvious as you get older, that you have to start working on those like finite details of the kinds of things that are still hanging under the surface, that if you don't address it, it's those kinds of insecurities that actually cause the ripple effect of bad behavior. Like, okay, am I making this decision because I'm completely secure in what I'm doing? Or am I making this decision because somewhere in here, like, I don't want to be alone or I don't want to be lonely and I'm trying to avoid that and I'm masking it with something else? I don't know about you guys, but that is intensely complicated to do on a day-to-day basis. It's very difficult to tap into that and continue to try to stay with it,
Yeah.
You didn't get to hear the question, I think. You want to hear?
What helps you move forward today?
Motivate.
I love that you make it fun.
What?
It's good. No, thank you. I'm so glad that this little thing I began 12 years ago. It's like I love that I met you through it.
No, I mean, what helps me move forward today?
Yeah.
How does motivate on a day-to-day basis? So it's, it's your form of exercise. When we had coffee that one time.
Our fun little community.
Well, that's
such a good.
It's
that's what
social.
I got
It's
from the
social.
coffee that we had, that it was also, it was an opportunity to go and feel a part of something every day.
Oh yeah, it's really great. We're all friends and we all hang out and we all love each other and we all go on vacation together and it's a great group. I can go a little deeper than that though, if we need to. Once I can figure out how to.
I can just open it for you. I
I'm
just
gonna-
boom.
You can?
What? If I can, this would be really embarrassing.
Can't you do?
So maybe what does community mean to you
Thank you.
in the direction that our lives go? Like how much?
So I
does
just saw the
community-
question. In fairness, hang
Here.
on.
Yeah.
What helps you move forward today? I'm starting to burn out, to be honest. I really am.
You need a shot. It's coffee. Coffee can actually be an
I
answer.
don't want any coffee right now. Yeah, I'm starting to burn out. Pass on me right
But
now.
you said like motivation, because I feel like when people are, you can be motivated, but for so long. And there comes discipline.
Oh, preach.
Yeah.
I wish I named the business discipline, but no one would come.
Because like when you have discipline,
Yeah.
you can be motivated. I can say, I want to look like this, and I start doing that. And for a week, I'm very motivated, and then I am not. And there is when discipline comes.
Motivation is temporary.
Yeah.
So how do you think about discipline in your life? Like, how do you decide when to apply discipline and how much of it, and that balance?
Yeah, I'm still working on it. But for example, exercise. It is very important for me to start the day with exercise.
Where do you exercise? I know a place.
You're about to get an offer, I think.
I go to the gym. And I am there at 5 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, from Monday to Friday. And I go Saturday, but later, like around
Good
6:30.
for you.
And
And you work out by yourself?
Yeah. So,
Okay, that's discipline.
yeah. So I started working out by myself, and I had people come to me, like the ladies upstairs, and they're like, oh, some of them are like, I want to train with you, but I feel so intimidated going down there, where the guys and the muscles, and they're like,
Yep.
and I'm like, just, you can come with me and we can train together. So I have like that.
Yeah, it's cool.
I have like
nice.
a partner that trains with me, and she's amazing. And I'm like, okay. But sometimes I wake up and I don't want to go. And I'm like, you have to get up and you have to go, no matter what, because that's discipline. But I can apply it when it comes to exercise. But sometimes when it comes to something else, it's just really hard. And I'm like, but if you can do this and you do it so great,
How do you apply
why
that?
can you not apply it here? And that's where I conflict. Like, it's just like, why not? Why I cannot do it here, but I can do it here?
Did you say you work out with someone?
Yeah. I have, a friend that I work out.
Okay, that's an accountability partner. You need that accountability partner, someone similar like that, to hold you accountable for the other thing that you're having a hard time doing, because that obviously is a tool that works for you.
Yeah, it is true.
So but you have to be vulnerable. You have to go, I need help with this, so you got to call me tomorrow at 5:00 and ask me if I did the thing.
Oh, yeah. That might work. I can try that.
Try that.
Yeah.
But she's got to be good to hold you. You have to give someone who's like,
That would be my mom.
you need someone who's not going to flake on you, because people who love you will get soft on you and make it easy. So you have to have a little bit of an edge.
I know. I love yoga. I started doing yoga because my sister, she was having a really hard time. And then there was COVID. I moved to the Netherlands. She was in Austria. And then she was like having the hardest time of her life. And I'm like, I'm going to move with you for, like a month or something. And then she started doing like a training. And it was yoga. And I was like, I'm going to do it with you since I am here. And then I started doing yoga every day with her. And it was amazing. I mean, yoga is beautiful. It taught me how to breathe. Because, we breathe. But it's just like an automatic. Like, you do it because your body does it for you, but not because you're conscious about doing it. And that's what I learned with yoga. It's just amazing. And then I kept on doing it. Like right now, it's just like very busy. So I'm trying to figure it out. How can I do more yoga?
Yeah.
But I feel like you have to find like small things that you can do so that you can keep yourself in balance, because it's very important.
Yeah.
Good habits.
Right. I think, discipline is the logical conclusion of awareness, right? Because once you figure out that you have something that you want to improve, then you've got to figure out what are the opportunities to be able to do it. It's really complicated because there's different kinds of discipline too, right? There's like, okay, can I wake up and can I get to the gym and can I just start there? And then I know everything will snowball and it'll start to work out. And then there's the discipline of like, eating or whatever else it is, which is like, what is the balance that I want to find between pleasure and delayed gratification? Because, too much delayed gratification and maybe you're missing out on something that's a really amazing experience that you should have. Too much amazing experiences and sometimes you're doing everything in the moment, but your long-term prospects feel like they're starting to slip away because you're not thinking about you're not in love with the future version of yourself enough to be able to have that delayed gratification that falls in place. Very complicated.
Yeah, we need a little bit more Anthony Bourdain kind of feelings and lifestyle in this world. Everyone's getting either very serious or very unserious. I mean, they're just like scrolling and disappearing or being incredibly regimented. And I would definitely argue that you need both things. Like there should be a lot of unplanned time. And go out with your friends, talk to people, have a drink, relax, like go let loose. I mean, of course, there's people that there's all kinds of ways to let loose. You don't have to have a drink, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's okay to just be messy. I feel like this generation coming up is just like very like regimented.
Yeah. I think you're making a really good case for and point about balance. That it's like it's about trying to live our best lives. The thing is that depending on the ambition that you have to try to get something done, you can also realize that sometimes turning down fun for delayed gratification when you're trying to accomplish something big is difficult to know how much of it is necessary.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I think we all have to do that at certain points and just say, okay, I've got to put my head down for this one thing.
Length of
and
time.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's okay. I'm all about that too.
Yeah. Well, you've built a really great business and you seem like you found balance in that. How have you, what were the tricks that you used to try to achieve it?
Well, that I am enjoying most of the work that I do. That's sort of been part of what at the sacrifice of making a lot of money doing what I do, which I easily could doing corporate video or whatever I decide to do, or commercials or film. I have chosen to work with clients that I don't make a lot of money, but I'm always enjoying the process and like truly enjoying the process. Like you were talking about how like 3 hours can go by like very quickly. Like when I'm working in video, like I have no clue what time it is. If I'm editing,
You're in a time warp when you're editing. It's like,
oh, I'm in a total time warp. I mean, it's a black hole. Not always happy doing that part of it. It's very time consuming and clients have no idea what goes into
but
editing
because I
process.
get little texts, oh my gosh, you can't, and I'm like, stop
Oh,
beating
yeah.
me. Show me the product. She's like, you love torture.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
It's fun. You're in a happy space.
I feel like I naturally like am attracted to balance in all things. And that is, I am very, very, very fortunate that is how I live my life. I don't know where it comes from. It wasn't something I learned. It was something that I kind of think you either have it or you don't. You can either, like, first of all, showing up to something like the gym or eating healthy should all be fun. It shouldn't be like no part of that should be drudgery. If it is, I'm sorry, but you're doing it wrong. Like I really truly mean that. There are so many movement modalities and there's so much amazing food.
Yeah.
Like amazing food. And if you can't figure out like what of that you want to participate in that's fun, then you're boring. Like, I'm sorry, just like literally, you can become a windsurfer.
Yeah.
You can start horseback riding.
Yeah.
You can you can ice skate. You can like kayak. You can do all of these things. You can do all of these things. And a lot of them are very like easy to get into. If you, first of all, like I want to make sure that I'm acknowledging privilege here as well, always acknowledging privilege. But truly, we live in a very like digital age where there's a lot of information and there's stuff offered to anyone. There's no roadblock or paywall with a lot of like outdoor exercise. So I really feel like there's a lot of things you can do. Same with food. If you're a creative person or you can get a little creative, you can make things that are really tasty and healthy and awesome. And the same goes with work. Like if you don't like your job and it's drudgery, like start
Side
looking
hustle.
for something else. You became a pilot. Like it took a lot for you to become a pilot. To be honest, like I got my drone license and it was hell to get my drone license. It was so hard.
Yeah.
It was so hard. I was deeply, deeply out of my comfort zone. But I was like, isn't that good that I'm out of my comfort zone? I'm like, everything else I'm doing is totally in my comfort zone. Like oh, by the way, what drives you? Getting out of your comfort zone. That's what drives me.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
definitely.
I think it's arguable that you can't grow without discomfort.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, and that I do think that if we just, even if we just said tonight, like, this might be an opportunity to touch truth, if we all agree that you cannot grow without discomfort, it should completely reshape the way that we think about discomfort.
Yep. I comfort
That's true.
kills. It's quite literally, for the first time ever, to go back into what I do, we are no longer getting older. We're that age. We are no longer. We went back a couple tenths of a year, because comfort is the antithesis of what our bodies and minds are supposed to experience. Comfort of the mind, only listening to people who agree with you, and only surrounding yourself. Your mind's turned into mush. Body, like sitting in climate controlled spaces and getting out of your seat and going into a car and then going up an escalator and sitting in another seat, it's hurting you. It will kill you.
Yeah.
So it's like, I fully agree with what you said. It's absolutely, and you become wicked boring and not fun to be around anyway. So why bother?
Well, I do think the one thing that hits you on both sides of that, though, like for your mind and your body, is that we also seem to have, whether this is a nurture or nature thing, it seems to be deeply embedded in us to want to be right. So to be right about anything, the right way to get your body in shape, the right way to have an opinion about this or that. And I don't see being right as being all that helpful in my adult life.
It kills curiosity.
To me, it closes more doors than it opens, which is difficult to figure out. How does closing doors advantage you in the long run?
Yeah.
But I've also found that most people, when you are able to get to something like a shared outcome, then all of a sudden the curiosity is a tool that gets to be used in those environments. But if you don't know where you're trying to get to, then righteousness is a very difficult thing to avoid. But if you're able to say, oh, we both want to show up to this place because we both love to move our body in this particular way, and this is a really fun way to do it, then that shared outcome kind of like parts the seas of anything that could make you feel like you're separate from each other. And all of a sudden you get to find each other at something that feels connected.
And doing hard things together. When you work out, it's fun, but it's also uncomfortable.
Very.
And when you do that and you got to celebrate, I mean, my kid is literally, his whole career path is about being wildly uncomfortable with others to do something so crazy extreme that what 0.001% of the people can do it. Like, and everything he's ever wanted to do is, that's the only thing that he wants to do, is be with others who want to do hard things. You bond over it, and now you're friends, and you've done something that very few people can say they've done.
If that's the future generation of kids, I feel excellent about the direction the world is going in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, okay, so here's the argument about all of this too, though. Like, we can all sit here and say this, right? But I really think that I also feel like we all owe it to our communities on a local and worldly level too, to make sure that those opportunities are available for everyone who needs and wants them. So, like, I'm sitting here from a place of privilege saying that I have access to all these things that I want to do. And there's literally nothing that I want to do that I can't do. And that is an extremely privileged place to be in. And to be able to say that, like, everyone should be experiencing these things is very short-sighted. I think we owe our community in the world the opportunity to be able to have access to all of these things as well. That's the missing link here, is that there's prejudices, racial, worldly, like, a lot of communities don't have access to this. They couldn't go to Motivate. Like, most people couldn't go to Motivate. We are very lucky that we get to go to Motivate, and there's a lot of people that are going to Motivate that never thought that they would be at Motivate. And I would argue that the service that Megan provides has reached a population, so to speak, that wouldn't otherwise be going. So I'm not saying that she doesn't extend the ability to get to Motivate to people that wouldn't necessarily be going there, because we have, like, women that are 80 years old that are doing this. And the only reason that they're there is because Megan has made a market for them to come and be there, right? And she has a business, and she's got 3 kids in college, and she's a working mom who's literally carrying her family with these businesses, and she has every right to make a living off of this business, and she should be able to make a living off of this
But to be
business.
fair, it's not cheap. It's not. It's
No,
definitely a
not at
higher
all.
echelon
I know that
service.
I know the back end of it all, and I know exactly like how it all works and everything. But I'm saying that we should all be contributing to hoping, or we should be making sure that we're making these experiences available to other people who want and need them. So I feel a responsibility to make sure that I'm contributing to organizations that, like our friend Kate, who runs the Y, who the Y is a great program that helps to reach kids from all different backgrounds to be able to give them access to fitness and opportunities to travel and skiing and snowboarding and things that like they wouldn't otherwise be able to be a part of. And
Right.
that's the missing link here, is you can sit here and say, these are things that drive us. Oh, lucky us. We are sitting from a place of privilege to be able to have and do them, but not everyone is sitting from that place of privilege. And that's the disconnect, you know?
Yeah, so a couple times you've said tonight that integrity is really important to you, and it seems like one of the pieces of integrity that hits deep for you is equality of opportunity, to make sure that all people have the same opportunity to be able to better themselves. So how do we do that? Like where do we start as a society to start to figure out that equality of opportunity is an excellent way to also see each other as equals? That if everybody starts at the same starting line, how do we
That's
make
pretty loaded. I don't know if we can go there. Where do we start?
Well, first of all,
I
let
can
me
think of one way we can start.
Well, first of all, we can go anywhere we want to go.
don't-
There's nothing about There's nothing about this room that has anything to do with gotcha or trying to put anybody into a corner where we're trying to talk about anything. But it's an opportunity to be able to kind of talk about what are the systems that allow things to stay exactly the way they are? And then what are the systems that we need to improve? Does it all start in education? Do we need to go back and figure out how we rethink an
before that.
education system that gets to kids that are, conception to 7? Is that where we would have our biggest effect on being able to start to level the playing field for an equality of opportunity? I mean, there's obviously specifics that we could go into, but if we stay generically talking about where is the biggest opportunity to be able to shift towards something that you're passionate about, how do we do it?
I don't even know if this is an answer, but an illustration of when it does happen. I mean, again, go back to my son. It's interesting to listen to all the people he's now surrounding himself with in the Navy. No two are alike.
Yeah.
It's literally a cross section of people all over the country, race, ethnicity, religion, socioeconomic. I mean, it's like kind of wild. I'm like, did you expect me? And he's like, no, like he was saying how hard it was for him to go leave the house and go to boot camp because I wasn't running from something. I loved where I'm from, and I love you guys, and you're an intact household, and my brothers, and I love where I lived. And he's like, and it gave him a moment to go, wow, I appreciate everything. He's like, because there's a lot of kids who are literally running from wherever they came from to boot camp because and it was just kind of like, wow, like, I don't know how you create, I mean, it's an illustration of sort of like, here, you can join. I don't know what else exists in the world like that because it's kind of, I mean, I guess public school is, but that doesn't mean it's all good. I don't know. I just was for the first time like in awe of hearing about his experience.
Well, doing tough things is a great way to be able to learn all the tools necessary to figure out how you become successful, right? So that's one way that we could do it, is just figure out more ways to create opportunity for all people to do difficult things that aren't traumatic.
Yeah.
Exercise, learn how to fly a plane, learn. The more learning we do, because there isn't any form of learning anything that's easy. Like if you're starting from zero knowledge on something and you jump in, everybody has experienced the mental hurdles that you go through to be able to convince yourself that you're capable of being able to get to the other side of that. That's a universally human experience that we all have. How do we tap into that as early and as often as we can to make sure that everybody gets equal access to that? Because I do think on the other side of privilege, is a vacuum of ideas. That exists in highly affluent communities in the same way that it can exist in challenging socioeconomic environments, which is also why it makes it harder to talk in between those environments as well. It's sometimes symptoms and root. Like, what is the root of something versus, the symptom that we end up seeing later on. I think that's a really fascinating place to continue to try to talk. Like, how do we start to figure out how we make every child have an equal opportunity to figuring out how they live their best life?
I feel like in school, they don't teach us what we need.
Yeah.
It's just like very general, but it's not what we need to know. So they don't teach us like how to eat, which is very important, and how does your body works when it comes to food. I mean, they are always, and it's everywhere, because I have been in many places and I feel we're people everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go, we're the same. Because I thought, like, when I was back home, I was like, oh no, but if I go there, it's going to be different and it's going to be better. And I went there and it was pretty much the same. So I was like, no, but if I go there, it's going to be better there. And I was like, no, we're people everywhere.
Yeah.
So I feel like the problem, like at home as well, like as a parent, you have to try to open the eyes of your kids, and you have to try to teach them things that they don't learn in school. Because we go to school and we'll learn the same thing. It's the same. It's math, it's biology, it's physics. But like,
What do you wish that you would have learned in school, and what do you think would be really helpful for kids to have as a foundation that everyone gets on their way to to going through that process?
communication, like how to communicate with each other, how to be open and be real and be honest, and how to be able to say things. And not only say things, but learn a way, like how to say them. Because I can say sometimes, like my mom has this beautiful way of saying things that sometimes I don't. And I'm like, you know what, you say it. I'm not going to say it because I could be too straightforward and it can come out wrong. But when you learn how to communicate, it's just different. And I wish like they would teach us how to communicate, which is very important for me, at least, and how to eat properly, which is also something I feel like we don't know. Like as when you grow, you start like trying to teach yourself, but like when you're like in school, I don't feel like we are learning what we should.
Fortunately, that information has been tainted for so long. So even if they try to teach you, it was based on bad information. I mean, it was tainted by the subsidies and all, like, it's like the powers that be that plays into politics. Well, eat lots of bread. That's high energy food. It's great if you're going to put the energy out. And so, like, unfortunately, the information was bad. So if they actually did teach us, we weren't going to get good information. Managing money, managing a household. Like, how does, like I can't tell you how many people, like, I interact with, who are so wildly book smart and then street smarts. Like, oh my gosh. Like, okay, you have a car. Like, so even like basics, like these are the things that need to be done for the car to be legal, road safe. What you need in a household. Again, managing money, managing food. Yeah, like I feel like some of the basics are the things that stress us out the most, that occupy most of our time, and like ruin relationships. And they are not even discussed at all ahead of time. We're not taught, at least deliberately. Probably we think by inference our kids just pick up on this because they've witnessed it. I've actually I took my kid and like, all right, here we go. Open up your account. We're sharing a screen. We're Zooming. Here's your inbox. Here's your outbox. Let's analyze. Let's like compartmentalize. Like the idea of a budget. Like your out's bigger than your in. That's a problem. Like, see how this works? And he's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, financial literacy is a real thing that it affects all of us as you start to get into adulting, which would be really helpful.
Big time. I was in such huge debt through my young adulthood. And I never had a conversation at all I think I was just like, no credit cards, don't drink, don't have sex, don't smoke, and then we're just going to trust that's going to work out for you.
Yeah.
I think in the world that we live in today, with technology and information being as accessible as it is, the most important thing that I think would be, or I'd say two things that would be fundamental things that I would want to add to a curriculum are teaching kids how to actually learn something themselves.
Critical
Because the
thinking.
process of learning and knowing what it is that you want to learn, I think is really important. And I think that if a kid has that they have enough information for the most part now with the internet to find the resources to educate themselves. And then the other thing I would add is some kind of skill set about how do you evaluate all of the information and actually try and determine the legitimacy of it in a world where we have so much information, but we have probably more disinformation that's also available. And so I think if people knew how to evaluate what they wanted, they knew how to learn the skills that were necessary to pursue that, and they knew how to avoid all of the false information that would lead them astray, that they have everything else, for the most part, to do the things that they want.
8th grade, I still remember I didn't understand the concept because I didn't understand that bias in news articles could be possible. I'm like, it's news, it's factual. And it was a project. Every week we had to cut out an article in the newspaper, and we had to give like the who, what, where, when, why, how. And then they said, and now find the bias. And I'm like, I literally didn't understand the concept. I'm like, they're not allowed because they're journalists. And she goes, it's always there. And I was like, and then I didn't have my aha moment until much later. I was like, oh, Mrs. Herman in Christ the King parochial school was right. And I can't even believe that she was allowed to do that because like we were told don't question much like in my faith upbringing in that.
But that's a really good teacher, because even if you don't find the bias, then you know that that's somebody who you can trust.
Right. But the idea that it existed, it was almost like, now he's Oz. It was almost like peeking behind the curtain and thinking, mean there is an Oz? Like someone is pulling levers?
Yeah.
And I remember being like, and now it's like Lever City. But yeah.
But there's so many layers of that you go into it in adulthood. It's like the first time you see a teacher out in the public,
wild.
you're like, what? I didn't know you were allowed out here. Like, I didn't think that was it. Or you get old enough where you stop seeing your parents as your parents and you start seeing them as a human being, and you start to recognize that that's a much more complex journey that they've been through than I've been giving them credit for up until this point.
All the Oz moments when you realize.
Yeah, just all of the complexity that goes into not being able to understand how somebody has made decisions that may not be the same as you, but their complexity wasn't the same as yours either. So it's so difficult to figure out where you would land on that stuff.
Yeah. Or again, when someone you thought you trusted implicitly, it's to me, again, to go back to the very beginning of the conversation, it wasn't the lie, it wasn't the cheat, it was the fact that I didn't know.
Yeah.
For the months going up to that was like this, that was the part that I was like, I can't trust myself. That was very upsetting.
Yes.
That was the worst part.
I've gone through a betrayal as well, and it's the intellectual part of it goes by very quickly. You're like, okay, fine. It's the emotional part where you're like, why didn't I see that? How in the world did I stay so buried in the sand that I allowed all of these things to go by, and all of them just registered as like, okay.
I can't trust the
good.
lens through which I'm looking in the world. Like that is scary because hot is not hot. Hot can be cold. I'm like, I thought I knew.
Yes.
Up is down.
But I do think that that's the beauty, Megan. You can tell me whether it's true. It's definitely been true for me that right afterwards, I was like, how? I like that. And then I looked back, I was like, of course I should have known then.
Yeah.
What?
Oh.
What was I doing? Like all of these opportunities.
Exactly. And then you're like, thank God.
Yeah. And so now it's like, okay, well, like Next time, I'm not going to be like, oh,
Yep, I
I'm
know
going to be like,
better.
all right, I see
Yeah,
it.
know
Thank
better,
you.
do
Like, no,
better.
thank you. I'll move on to the next one. That's not the right. But I think that it maybe is even the necessity of discomfort is also, it's the tool for reflection, right?
Agreed.
I also think a lot of times when I get into my discipline, I have found it to be very helpful, especially over like the last 3 years. Anytime I get a negative feeling, so that could be anything. It could be loneliness. It could be shame. It could be, I mean, just go down the list of anything that you'd rather not feel. Take any of those. And when I feel them, I'm like, okay, this just means that this must be attached to an environment or a behavior. Now that I understand the feeling, I can now dissect, is it the environment or is it my behavior? And whichever one it is, all I have to do is replace a negative with a positive, and then the next time I run into it, I will get a positive feeling because I've figured out it. That's what I wish we would teach kids in school. That's what I wish
I
at
don't
a
know.
baseline.
I don't think that's. I think that's we're overshooting. It's really hard to get that in school. I mean, you can try your best, but I feel like that to me was a parenting thing. A lot of narration. My thinking about thinking was done out loud for them. A lot.
So if I was for sure that it would happen across all homes,
It probably won't.
I'd be down with it. You know what I mean? But I deeply believe in equality of opportunity, which means that we have to have social safety nets where I don't think that it's possible that we could guarantee that every child in every home is going to have the appropriate nurturement. But I do think that I would be totally cool with building a lot less bombs and a lot more schools to make sure that every kid had a place to go be nurtured for a certain amount of time so that we could figure out how we got to the other side. Those are just I think just the basic things that we have to come back to in our value system together as a society and as a group of just saying, how about we just do a lot less violence and we do a lot more nurturing? How about we just start there? That would be a really easy way for us to start to figure out how we could make sure that at the end, all of this accumulated trauma that keeps us in friction with each other, let's make sure that the generation beneath us has a lot less trauma to be able to go through. I don't want my kids to have an easy life. I want them to have a rich life, and easy is not rich. But I don't want them to have to learn their critical lessons through trauma, which unfortunately is how I learned my critical lessons. And I would just prefer them to be able to learn that without having to have that exact same experience. But it requires planning and thought and making sure that we're do we know the outcome of what we want, which is not that we want everybody to end at the same place, because the diversity of what people are capable of is really beautiful too. But we do need to make sure that everybody has a place to go to be reminded that bad behaviors are not something that you should get used to. If you're going home and you're having something that is violent or something that is clearly in your intuition, you know that this is not an environment that you should have to be in or that you should be enduring. You should at least be able to get to go to an environment where you are treated in the opposite way so that you understand the contrast between those two things. Because I deeply believe that because I believe that everybody is my equal, I believe that everybody has the ability to find their way towards positive outcomes in their best version of their life. But I think that it's very difficult to do that if you're in a vacuum of ideas that you cannot see a light at the end of the tunnel. We just got to figure out whether we can collectively find, is there a universal light that we can shine on that says let's, try to get to peace. Let's try to get to love. Let's try to get to the kinds of things that, feel better. I know we're at the end of the time that we have for tonight. I have one last question. This question doesn't take as long. But it is pretty direct.
Go, Mare.
Pretty direct. Okay.
It's pretty direct.
What is your favorite ride at an amusement park?
Interesting. I didn't see that question in there.
Crazy.
Seriously?
That is direct, though. What is your favorite?
Roller coaster.
What is your potential?
Yeah. Seriously? What is the question?
What is your potential?
I literally thought it was the amusement ride. I was like, that is so fun.
Sorry.
I don't think any of it, I don't know. I don't think any of it has a ceiling. I think it's infinite.
Yeah, I feel like it's how you see it. If you believe you can do anything, then you can do anything. But if you don't, then there is your limit, and there you draw a line. For me, it has always been like, if I want something, I go for it. And even if, like, I mean, it's not easy because you have so many fears within you that you're like, am I going to be able to do this? And then you have to talk to yourself and just, you have to trust. Learn to trust is really hard. Because sometimes you go and you do something and you're amazing. And the next day you go and you do it and you suck. And it's just like, it's a process. For me, it was like really hard to learn that life is a process. And some days you're going to shine. And other days it's going to be very dark. And you just have to learn how to be in between.
Yeah.
Like feelings. Yeah. So you have to love yourself and to be there and to be present, because it's very important. And that's how you do it. I mean, it's a journey. And just don't think about the outcome, because we are always thinking about how is it going to be? Am I going to get it? When am I going to get it? And I used to be like that. And then I was like, I got what I wanted. And I'm like, am I there?
Yeah.
And then I asked myself, did I really enjoy the journey? Because the journey is the most important part. Like, if you're always thinking about the outcome, you're never going to enjoy the journey. And then you're missing out. So I feel like potential, you can do whatever you want as long as you believe.
Oh, me? So potential is really like, human potential is really about like fear or laziness. It's one of the two. It's literally, those are the two that keep you from reaching your potential, I think. And so really it comes down to confidence, right? And I think nurturing your confidence is the core of like meeting your potential. I would say most people, it's a confidence issue. And so finding things in your community that help to build you up and, you know, taking more risks, that's, you know, basically how potential is earned, I think. Yeah, I like how you said this was quick. It's not necessarily quick, but I do think if I had to say a quick answer, I would say nurture your confidence.
Yeah.
And you will reach your potential.
I think that that's a really profound thing for people to hear, that it has to start with confidence. It's hard to, without confidence, to go out and be able to make authentic connections with other people, which seems to be really part of the part of life that has so much richness to it.
Yeah.
But in the end, maybe it's about feeling peace.
Yeah, and to your point, like I feel like when you spoke before, it was like the problem to me is almost so overwhelming that you kind of freeze. Like, how do we all get to that light, so to speak? So I feel like if I'm living my potential, I'm making our collective way there, one interaction at a time.
Yeah.
So I go back to that. I mean, at the studio, it's made easy for me. I have a lot of opportunities. So one relationship, one interaction. I love the starfish. The starfish story is my go-to when I'm feeling paralyzed by a project, by an issue, by whatever. Are you familiar with the starfish story? I can make it really quick. For those of you who are listening who don't know this story, there's an ocean. Obviously, it brings a bunch of starfish. They're all washed ashore. There's a young girl walking down the beach, and it's just littered with starfish everywhere. And she's picking up one at a time and throwing it back in the ocean. And the sun is beating down on these poor starfish, and the tide is going back out. And she knows they're going to dry up and they're all going to die. So she's just trying to do it. And there's an older gentleman who comes her way and says, "Honey, what are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm trying to save these starfish." And she's picking one up and throwing it in. And he goes, "Look around. There's way too many starfish. You're never going to make a difference. They're all going to die." And she goes, "Well, I don't know, but to this one, I think I made all the difference." And she throws it in. And it's like, that to me is like the thing I have to repeat on my head over and over again when I'm overwhelmed.
Bird by bird.
bird by bird.
Well, that's a really beautiful way to say it. And I think you said something earlier that I think is the same idea, only internally reflected, which is that it gets very overwhelming when you think way too far out. But it gets much easier when you say, I don't know, could I do better today so that I'll be better tomorrow? Could I do better today so that I'll be better tomorrow? Could I do? And if you do that enough days, all of a sudden you start to realize that you
Cumulatively.
feel better and you are doing better and things are better. But it happens in the now. It happens in the what you can control in this moment, and how we try to do that. So I just want to say thank you to the three of you. I thought that this was a really fun conversation. I thought all three of you brought extremely interesting perspectives to what we were talking about. And I hope that the four of us made a contribution to talking about resilience and how impactful it can be to build your identity around being resilient, to know that no matter what comes in your direction, that you have and you will have the ability to be able to figure out how to overcome that. So thank
Thanks.
you. I really appreciate all three of you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
Outgoing song.
That's a wrap on the Unscripted Room, episode 6.
Ooh,
Thanks, everybody.
look at us.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thanks. That was fun.